Chapter 50-54 was exposed. The Lan Luofeng who spoke later was talking about what happened in Supreme City, so most of it was fake. However, to be on the safe side, Yun Chuzhou decided to test it again. Therefore, she said to Lan Luofeng number 2, I gave you a phoenix hairpin before, take it out and let me have a look. Lan Luofeng number 2's face stiffened and she said with a dry smile, Little Jiu, I left it at home and didn't bring it over. Hearing this, Yun Chuzhou raised her hand and shot out several bolts of lightning. There were small flames mixed within. Seeing this, Lan Luofeng number 1 also rushed forward to help. She even shouted, Little Jiu is an iron rooster. Why would she give me a hairpin? Yun Chuzhou, if she had known this would happen, she would have kept that fake. Lan Luofeng number 2 was naturally not a match for Yun Chuzhou and Lan Luofeng. She was killed very quickly. Yun Chuzhou realized that these imposters were obviously good at mimicry, but in fact their abilities were not that great. She looked at the rest of the people and curled the corners of her lips. I have 10,000 ways to tell who is real and who is fake, so I advise you to take the initiative to leave. Otherwise the previous 2 will end up like you. She did not know if she was scared by Yun Chuzhou's words, but 6 people immediately ran away. Yun Chuzhou did not chase after them but shouted, Tell your companions not to provoke me or else one of them will die. I will make you extinct. It was unknown if it was an illusion, but everyone realized that the 6 people ran even faster. In fact, Yun Chuzhou had an even faster method, which was to let everyone summon the spirit beast that she had rented to them previously. Those imposters naturally could not do it. However, it seemed that those imposters were very timid and actually ran away after a scare. Everyone be careful. Don't act alone, lest you are killed by someone and then pretend to be someone else, Yun Chuzhou said seriously. Everyone nodded in agreement. This supreme city was indeed strange. There was actually such an incredible beast. Lan Luofeng asked in puzzlement, Little Jiu, the corpses that we saw earlier were all killed by cultivator spiritual power. What happened? Were they killed by those imposters? Yun Chuzhou shook her head. Those imposters aren't very capable. It's highly likely that they were imposters who instigated a rift or deliberately provoked a fight, causing Mu Zian and the others to have internal strife. The members of the Lan family couldn't help but feel some lingering fear. Fortunately, they had already submitted to Yun Chuzhou, so Yun Chuzhou gave the order and no one attacked anymore. Otherwise there would probably be some casualties. When it was almost evening, everyone rushed to the center of the 3rd level. They did not find a step, but they saw an old man with triangular eyes. San Jiaoyan. The old man looked at everyone and then said, You want to go to the 4th level of the levitation layer? Lan Luomu and the others did not say anything and looked at Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou said with a smile, Yes, we want to go to the 4th level of the levitation layer. If you can meet my conditions, I will send you up. Otherwise, you can only stay in the 3rd level, said the old man. Oh, what conditions? Yun Chuzhou raised her eyebrows and asked. I don't have any other hobbies. I just like young and beautiful women. You only need to keep one woman as my concubine, and I will let you up. As the old man spoke, he looked at Lan Luoyan and Lan Luofeng with malicious intent. Chapter 50-55, Kill Lan Luoyan and Lan Luofeng were embarrassed and annoyed by his gaze. They wished they could just kill him. However, Yun Chuzhou had not spoken yet, so they could not make a move. Yun Chuzhou laughed lightly. Did the previous group of people leave anyone for you? The old man's face revealed a hint of perversity. Of course. However, that little girl could not take it anymore and was already played to death by me. Yun Chuzhou thought to herself that Mu Zian and the others had used human lives to pave the way. She wanted to see how they would climb up after all their people had died. I like people with good figures. Let's keep her. The old man pointed at Lan Luoyan. Lan Luoyan was about to go crazy from anger. She cursed, You old shameless man. Dream on. The old man let out a strange laugh. No matter how you curse, you're still my people. Because without me you won't be able to find the way up. You can only die trapped on the 3rd floor. Yun Chuzhou looked at the sky. If they held on tight, they could reach the 4th floor before it was completely dark. Therefore, they did not have the patience to deal with the old man. Therefore she said, Kill him? The old man could not believe his ears. While resisting the attacks of the crowd, he shouted in exasperation, If you kill me, you won't be able to find the way up. Gowei Batsao, who was hiding in Yun Chuzhou's hair, shook its leaves. What an idiot. The stupid girl did not need any stairs at all. However, there were no stairs here, so there was no place for Go Weiba to use its tail. When the old man saw that the crowd was really going to kill him, he did not know what method he used to disappear on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already dozens of feet away. The old man said coldly, "What a bunch of people who don't know life and death. I want to see how you guys are going to go up." Lan Luoyin was about to chase after him, but Yun Chujio stopped her. "Don't fall for it. If you are alone, those imposters might take advantage of the situation and enter. Don't bother with him." Lan Luoyin stomped her feet angrily. "Then we will let this old pervert have it easy? I can't wait to kill him." Yun Chujio chuckled. "They're just a bunch of pitiful creatures. Why bother with him? Let's go up before the sky turns completely dark." When the old man heard Yun Chujio's words, he could not help but be stunned. Then a cold smile appeared on his face. Yun Chujio did the same thing. She propped up the bamboo pole and sent Xiaohei up. The old man pursed his lips. What was the use of getting such a small thing up there? Could it be that they wanted it to fix the rope somewhere? Then they had made a mistake. There was no place on the rope that could fix the rope. Yun Chujio had long thought of this. Hence, she let the others go up first while she stayed at the end. Seeing that Yun Chujio was the only one left, the old man said with a fake smile, "Little girl, although your figure is not that good, your looks are not bad, so you can stay." Yun Chujio was once again stepped on by the cat's tail, so she was naturally not in a good mood. She sneered, "Really? That depends on whether you have the ability." Yun Chujio directly summoned Little Slut number 2 to Little Slut number 9. 8 flying swords suddenly flew out and all of them stabbed at the old man. At the same time, Yun Chujio shot out several bolts of lightning and several small purple needles. There were also small flames mixed in between them. Goeibatsao was so anxious. Why didn't this stupid girl let it go? If it was let out, wouldn't it be able to save up some money again? Chapter 50-56 Goeibatsao lost its way. The old man did not put Yun Chujio in his eyes at all, so for a moment he was confused by her endless tricks. Each of these tricks was more and more rare, he had never seen them before. Therefore, before he could even use his supernatural power, he was killed just like that. Yun Chujio picked up the Wanzhu on the ground and was dragged up by Xiaohei. Goeibatsao thought angrily, "That old thing is really useless. He was actually killed just like that. Why don't you just hop around for a while longer? Maybe the smelly girl will let him out." However, Goeibatsao soon lost the mood to complain because it was stunned by the situation on the 4th level. Yun Chujio and the others were also stunned. Even in their dreams, they never thought that the 4th level of the levitation layer would be so beautiful. The ground was covered with exotic flowers and plants. There were carved beams and picturesque buildings. There were also wisps of clouds and mist floating around. Under the setting sun, it was exactly the same as the fairyland they had imagined. Lan Luofang said hesitantly, "It's so beautiful. It's really the same as the fairyland." The others also chimed in. Although the 3rd level was luxurious, it was still tainted by the worldly aura. The 4th level was different. It had an extraordinary feeling. Just as everyone was sighing, Yun Chujio said faintly, "Don't be fooled by appearances. Be careful." Everyone's hearts trembled and they immediately became vigilant. For the sake of being careful, Yun Chujio decided to rest at the same place and set off the next day at dawn. As the situation was unknown, Yun Chujio specially arranged for Lan Luoqing, Lan Luoji, and Lan Luomu to be on guard at night. When the Guai Chao in Yun Chujio's hair saw that the night was getting dark, she could not help but jump onto the ground again, preparing to walk around. This guy left the small square where everyone was resting and went to a bush of flowers in front. When this guy saw the bright flowers, his face was full of disdain. A group of coquettish bitches. How could they be as reserved and dignified as Go Weiba Tail? This fellow thought as he hopped to the nearest pavilion. This was an extremely exquisite pavilion. There was a plaque hanging on the front door. Of course, Goeibatsao was illiterate and did not recognize it at all. Goeibatsao was not interested in these things. It ran from room to room. It was surprised to find that the things inside were actually perfectly preserved. It was as if everything had been sealed by time. Although Goeibatsao was quite intelligent, it was also a little clever. It could not understand things that were too complicated, and it was too lazy to think about it. Seeing that it was not interested in anything, it wanted to leave. However, it found that it was lost. No matter how it turned, it could not turn out. It even looked at the direction of the moon in the sky, but it still could not turn out. Goeibatsao could not help but feel sad. It was over. It was trapped here. Although it was only formed from spiritual power and not the original form of the Guai Chao, this little treasury was very difficult to gather. It was simply a waste of God's gift to be trapped here. The next morning, everyone washed up and began to set off. The Guai Chao in Yun Chujio's Dantian was very conflicted. Should it remind the stinky girl not to enter that courtyard? If the stinky girl entered the courtyard, she might be able to save its little treasury. However, doing so seemed to be a little unorthodox. Some of it was not worthy of its lofty grass grid. Before the Guai Chao could think of a plan, Yun Chujio and the others had already discovered the pavilion. Chapter 50-57 The Celestial Master's Mansion. With Buttface's help, Yun Chujio recognized the 3 words on the plaque. The Celestial Master's Mansion. Yun Chujio burst into laughter. The Celestial Master's Mansion? There are so-called Celestial Masters in this supreme land? The small silver snake in Yun Chujio's sleeve suddenly struggled. Yun Chujio walked to the side and picked up the small silver snake. Little White, Hei Shinjo saw Di Biming's deep gaze and laughed dryly. Prince Charming, what are your orders? Di Biming snorted coldly. I heard from Buttface that you once found a pair of grandfathers and grandsons who were both spirit masters Yen, right? Previously on Mount Meru, Yun Chujio had been struck by lightning. Buttface had told Di Biming many things about Yun Chujio, and this was one of them. Yun Chujio nodded. That's right. One is Ziheng's younger brother, and the other is Ziheng's grandfather. Why do you suddenly think of them? I vaguely remember that although the Spirit Master Yen clan is not a celestial race, the best among them were given the title of Celestial Master and were given the same treatment as the Celestials. You mean that the previous owner of this Celestial Master Mansion was Spirit Master Yen? Yun Chujio asked in surprise. That's right. If my memory is correct, it should be like this. Di Biming's memories were only appearing little by little after the seal was broken, so he was not sure. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. I remember you once told me that you might need Spirit Master Yen in the future. What do you plan to do with them? Di Biming shook his head. I don't know either. Just like how I know that those bones are useful to me, I have a vague feeling that I will need Spirit Master Yen. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. It was as if she didn't say anything. Forget it, she couldn't be bothered to argue with an amnesia snake. However, since the gigolo said that the master of the Celestial Master Mansion was Spirit Master Yen, she had to go in and take a look. Perhaps there might be some unexpected gains. Seeing that Yun Chujio wanted to go in, the Guai Chao and her Dantian immediately stopped struggling. It was the stupid girl who wanted to go in on her own accord. It could not be blamed. However, why was there still a tinge of guilt? Just as Yun Chujio was about to push open the door, the Guai Chao decided to remind her. It could not be helped. It was too kind. As the Guai Chao struggled, Yun Chujio's Dantian was in pain. She guessed with her spiritual sense, is this mansion inappropriate? Guai Chao immediately used a leaf to indicate that something was wrong. Something was very wrong. When Yun Chujio saw this, she could not help but stop in her tracks. If Go Weiba said that something was wrong, then there should really be something wrong inside. So should she go in or not? However, this guy thought that since the Spirit Master Yen was useful to the gigolo, perhaps he could find some useful things in the Celestial Master's mansion. It was better to go in and take a look. Just as this guy was thinking, the members of the Land family had already pushed open the door and entered. After all, she and Guai Chao were communicating with their spiritual senses. The members of the Land family did not know about this. Seeing this, Yun Chujio did not need to hesitate anymore. Guai Chao also heaved a sigh of relief. This was not its fault. It was this stupid girl who insisted on going in. This guy quickly directed his little treasury to run in the direction of Yun Chujio. TSK, today was really a good day. He could do whatever he wanted. Yun Chujio was not interested in the exquisiteness of the courtyard. She walked into the main hall opposite the main door. The furnishings in the main hall did not show any signs of being tampered with. There was even half a cup of tea in the teacup. It was as if someone was laughing and chatting with her just a moment ago. Chapter 50-58 Yen Feng. Before entering, Yun Chujio had already instructed the Lan family members not to touch anything inside. Therefore, Lan Luofeng and the others only looked around curiously. No one touched the items inside the house. Yun Chujio and the others walked around the main hall. They did not find anything unusual, so they entered the second-floor courtyard. Goei Batsao had hidden in the grass in the second-floor courtyard. When it saw Yun Chujio coming over, it immediately sneakily flew onto Yun Chujio's shoes. Everyone's attention was on the exquisite surroundings, so no one noticed Goei Batsao. Even so, Goei Batsao did not dare to rashly fly onto Yun Chujio's hair. It could only sadly lie on Yun Chujio's shoes. This fellow had made up his mind that he would never wander around again. It was too dangerous. There were many rooms in the courtyard. Yun Chujio glanced at them and said, "The rooms here are similar. In order to avoid any accidents, everyone will enter and leave together. Do not act alone. Everyone was very obedient now, so they all nodded in agreement. Gowei Batsao thought to himself, this stupid girl is really cunning. I just don't know if she will fall for it too. Yun Chujio led everyone into a room in the middle. It was very spacious and the decoration was similar to the main hall. Yun Chujio led everyone to the room next door to take a look. Other than the exquisite decorations, it was no different from the layout of an ordinary mansion. Yun Chujio had no choice but to bring her people into the third courtyard. Once they entered the third-floor courtyard, one of the doors opened automatically. Everyone was shocked. Why did the door open by itself? Could there be someone inside? Yun Chujio was also shocked. She secretly walked closer and looked inside. It seemed to be a study room. The question was, should they enter or not? This guy decided to be more polite. He bowed and said, "May I ask who is in the room? Is it the Celestial Master?" Lan Luoyan and the others were dumbfounded. What was going on? Was the Celestial Master referring to the master of the mansion? He had died a long time ago. While everyone was thinking, an old sigh came from inside the room. "Honored guest, please come in." Everyone staggered in shock. Was there really someone inside? Yun Chujio shamelessly pointed at herself. "Honored guest, are you referring to me?" There was no reply from inside. Instead, a huge force pulled Yun Chujio inside and the door was closed again. Lan Luofeng and the others were about to barge in, but they realized that they could not find the previous room. For a moment they were burning with anxiety. After Yun Chujio entered the room, she realized that it was indeed a study room. Behind the desk stood an old man with a white beard and hair. He looked like a celestial being, just like the old celestial being that Yun Chujio had imagined. Yun Chujio was about to speak, but the old man nodded slightly. "Honored guest, greetings?" Hei Shinjio could not help but feel flattered. This old man was very polite. The old man pretended to return the greeting and then asked, "Are you the Celestial Master?" The old man smiled bitterly. "Celestial Master? Honored guest, please call me Yen Feng." "Senior Yen, may I know why you called me in?" Yun Chujio naturally would not call him by his name, so she called him Senior Yen. "Honored guest, please take a seat," Yen Feng said politely. Yun Chujio didn't stand on ceremony and directly sat on the chair. She was puzzled. What did this old man want to say? Chapter 50-59 For sentences. Yen Feng only sat down when he saw Yun Chujio sit down. "Honored guest, to tell you the truth, this old man is only a remnant of my spiritual sense," Yen Feng said with a sigh. Yun Chujio had long guessed this, so she was not surprised. Yen Feng continued, "Although this old man is not proficient in learning, as a spiritual master Yen, I can also deduce some things. I am very grateful to you for saving my junior's life." Yun Chujio smiled and said, "Senior Yen, you are too polite. It is only right to see injustice on the road and lend a helping hand." This fellow thought to himself, this old man is too amazing. He can even calculate the things that will happen tens of thousands of years later? Yen Feng sighed, "Now, our spiritual master Yen clan is already very withered, right? Junior doesn't know much about the specific situation, but it seems that there are very few rumors," Yun Chujio said tactfully. Yen Feng smiled bitterly. "Honored guest, you don't have to be so cautious. Let's not talk about how you owe my junior a favor. With my identity as an honored guest, this old man wouldn't dare to act rashly. If it wasn't for the fact that my remaining spiritual sense was too weak to leave this position, this old man would have sat at the head of the honored guest." Yun Chujio was stunned. "My identity? What identity?" Yen Feng shook his head. "Honored guest, you are still so thoughtful. No wonder." Yen Feng did not continue speaking when he said this. Instead he changed the topic. "Honored guest, I invited you in to remind you that the Divine Emperor Pavilion is fraught with danger. Don't trust others easily. Remember." "Divine Emperor Pavilion? Are you talking about the 18th level?" Yun Chujio asked in puzzlement. "That's right. It's the highest level. That used to be the Divine Emperor Pavilion where the Emperor Shin lived. I've already calculated that if you want to leave, you have to enter the Divine Emperor Pavilion," Yen Feng said. Yun Chujio stood up and bowed respectfully. "Thank you for your reminder, senior. Do you have any unfinished wishes? If you need my help, feel free to say it." Without benefits one would not get up early. Yun Chujio felt that this old man was not just simply repaying a debt of gratitude. Yen Feng smiled and said, "Honored guest, you are indeed smart. This old man does have a favor to ask of you. Because our spirit master Yen clan was able to unravel the secrets of the heavens, most of us died young. This is our fate. This old man is not the least bit unwilling." I only hope that you can protect Spirit Master Yan's family and prevent it from being exterminated due to other unforeseen circumstances, so that the Yan family's bloodline can be passed on. Yan Feng stood up and bowed solemnly. Yun Chujio quickly jumped up from the chair and moved to the side. Senior Yan, you're too polite. I'll agree. However, I'm just a little trash now. I'm afraid that I won't be of much help for the time being. Yan Feng's face stiffened and he said slowly, Honored guest, you are just a hidden dragon in the abyss. There will come a time when you will soar to the sky. Hei Xinjiu was very pleased with Yan Feng's words, but she still asked about serious matters. Senior Yan, why has this supreme city become like this? And who destroyed the God clan? Yan Feng shook his head. We can't tell you. Our honored guest will find out sooner or later. The corner of Yun Chujia's eyes twitched. It seemed like she couldn't get anything out of him, but it was good enough that she got a reminder. Yun Chujio was about to say something, but she realized that she had already arrived outside the house. However, she didn't know when, but there was a note in her hand. There were 4 sentences on it. A wild goose flies to the clouds in anger, the shadow of a branch in the west of the mountain at sunset, a pair of broken stars perches on a good tree, the world is full of strange things. Chapter 50-60 Extraterrestrial Soul. Yun Chujio looked at the piece of paper with a dumbfounded expression. This piece of paper was given to her by Yan Feng? What did it mean? At this moment, the old man's old voice came from the room. Honored guest, your identity is related to the secrets of the heavens. I can't say it out loud. Honored guest, please comprehend it on your own. Yun Chujio was stunned. Her identity? The moment she was stunned, the study room had already disappeared. It was as if everything from before was a dream. What surprised her even more was that the note in her hand had also turned into nothingness at the same time. Little Jiu, are you all right? Lan Luofeng saw Yun Chujio appear out of thin air and asked with concern. Yun Chujio shook her head, but in her heart, she recalled the 4 sentences on the note. She had always been smart. With just a little thought, she had already guessed the 4 sentences. Each sentence was a word puzzle. When a single goose flew into the clouds in anger, the corresponding word for the single goose was human, while the corresponding word for the cloud was two. When it flew into the clouds, it meant that it did not have a head, and that was the word heaven. When the sun set in the west, the branches would be slanted. When the sun set in the west, it would naturally be the setting sun, and the corresponding word would be 11. When the branches were slanted, the corresponding word would be bow, and when the two combined, it would be the word outer. A pair of broken stars perched on a good tree. The broken stars corresponded to cheat and the word moon meant rice? No, the word one was specially mentioned earlier. That meant come. The world was full of miracles. Yin Bangui. This was simple. Yin Bangui was soul. Soul from the heavens? Yun Chujio thought to herself that this Yin Feng was quite capable. She had transmigrated here. Wouldn't that mean that she was a soul from the heavens? However, she vaguely felt that something was wrong. Although she had transmigrated here, wasn't she the ghost ancestor in her previous life? This was like going out and coming back. How could she be called an otherworldly soul? Thinking of this, Yun Chujio pursed her lips. This old fraud probably had a false name, making him sound so mysterious. In fact, his calculations were completely wrong. At this moment, everyone asked her what she should do next. She threw this matter to the back of her mind and treated it as if Yin Feng was deliberately mystifying things. Yun Chujio immediately led everyone out of the Celestial Master Mansion and continued to walk forward. Goei Batsao took advantage of the opportunity when Yun Chujio was studying the crossword puzzle and finally climbed onto her head. When this fellow heard Yun Chujio say the words extraterrestrial soul, Yizi trembled. She thought to herself that old man still had some ability. Unfortunately, he was dead. From this point, it could be seen that the status of the people living on the 4th level was much higher than the people living on the 3rd level. An hour later, everyone saw the second house. The plaque said Divine General Zhen Weiss Mansion. Presumably, this Divine General should be a position of the God clan. Yun Chujio and the others wanted to quickly reach the 5th level of the levitation layer, so they did not plan to go inside. Who would have thought that the door of the mansion would open automatically? A 30-feet-tall giant in armor walked out from inside. He was holding a large saber that was flashing with cold light. Everyone was so scared that they stepped back. Who was this person? Could it be that Divine General Zhen Wei? How dare you trespass into this God General's residence? What crime should you commit? The loud roar made everyone's ears ring. Could this person really be God General Zhen Wei? Yun Chujio naturally didn't believe that this person was God General Zhen Wei. The Celestials in this place had already died a long time ago. How could there be God General Zhen Wei? At most, he was just like Yan Feng. It was just a remnant of his consciousness. Chapter 5061. Divine General Zhen Wei. Big brother, we didn't even enter your residence. How can we be called intruders? Yin Chuzhou said with a chuckle. The giant was stunned for a moment, then he roared, this area of dozens of miles is my territory. You came in without informing us. Naturally you are intruding. Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes. Before us, didn't anyone pass by here? The giant frowned and thought for a moment, then shook his head. No, I haven't seen any outsiders for a long time. Yun Chuzhou was puzzled. Mu Zian and the others should have reached the 4th level before them. How come the giant had never seen them before? While she was deep in thought, the giant said impatiently, cut the crap. You trespassed my mansion. Come here, let me chop off your heads. Yun Chuzhou felt that the giant's brain did not seem to be working well, so she came up with a bad idea. She smiled and said, Master General, actually, it was Celestial Master Yen who asked us to come here. Celestial Master Yen asked you to come here? That old thing is always talking nonsense. Why did he ask you to come here? The giant asked suspiciously. Hearing his words, Yun Chuzhou had a rough idea in her heart. This giant should be just a remnant of his consciousness. No wonder the people in the previous trial had only seen the 3rd level of levitation. It was likely that the Celestials above the 4th level had a higher cultivation level and left a remnant of their consciousness in it. That was why they had never appeared in the world. However, why did it appear this time? Lord Divine General, Heavenly Master Yen said that your divine skills are unrivaled and your battle achievements are outstanding. In a few days you will be promoted to a rank. He asked us to come over and congratulate you in advance, Yun Chuzhou said with admiration. Although she had only heard a few words from this so-called mighty divine general, Yun Chuzhou could already tell that he was a person who was very happy with his achievements. Sure enough, hearing Yun Chuzhou's words, the giant laughed out loud. That old thing is not wrong this time. I will soon become a divine general. Lan Luofeng and the others were all dumbfounded. Was it really okay for this troublemaker to speak nonsense in a serious manner? The celestial race had already been exterminated for tens of thousands of years, and they still wanted to be promoted? It was purely a dream. Yun Chuzhou waited for the giant's laughter to subside before she asked with a smile, Divine General, no, Lord Commander, shouldn't you go to the Emperor Shin's pavilion to thank His Majesty for his kindness? The giant was stunned at first before he nodded. That's right. I should go and thank His Majesty for his kindness and appreciation of me. After saying that, the giant ignored Yun Chuzhou and the others and walked forward. Everyone was puzzled. How did little Jiu know about the Divine Emperor Pavilion? Could it be that the old man from the Celestial Master Mansion had said something to her? The giant walked very quickly. Yun Chuzhou and the others tried their best to keep up with him. Yun Chuzhou thought that this celestial race was indeed extraordinary. Just the remnant of his soul consciousness was so powerful. What kind of terrifying existence was this when he was alive? However, such a powerful celestial race was exterminated. The mastermind behind this was so terrifying that it was impossible to imagine. She didn't know if there were no wild beasts on the 4th level or if they were afraid of the giant's pressure. In short, they walked unimpeded all the way to the spiral stairs. Yun Chuzhou thought that the giant would climb up the stairs. However, she realized that the giant did not stop but continued to walk forward. Yun Chuzhou rolled her eyes and gestured for everyone to continue to follow. Chapter 5062, Divine Emperor Pavilion. After walking for a while, the giant walked to a pavilion-like place and placed a jade token on it. Yun Chuzhou and the rest were astonished to discover that the pavilion had turned into a teleportation array formation. Seeing the giant walk in, Yun Chuzhou gritted her teeth and brought Lan Luofeng and the rest in as well. Yun Chuzhou cursed in her heart. It seemed like the teleportation array formation that Lan Luomu had was not reliable at all. There was a teleportation array formation here, but he had not discovered it. She had originally tricked the giant to pay a visit to Emperor Shin so that he could be used as cannon fodder and pass through a few levels smoothly. However, from the looks of it, they did not need to go through one level after another. This teleportation array most likely led to the 18th level. It was simply wonderful. The giant had a deep attachment to the so-called Divine Commander position. Hence, even when he saw Yun Chuzhou and the others following him, he turned a blind eye. A moment later, a white light flashed in front of her eyes. An extremely luxurious palace appeared in front of Yun Chuzhou. The words Divine Emperor Pavilion on the palace emitted a myriad of multicolored lights. Even though she had never seen many things before, it did not mean that she did not know what was good for her. Not to mention other things, just the stone slabs on the ground were enough to make everyone dumbfounded. The stone slabs were made of the same material as the pearls that were full of spiritual energy that they had discovered previously. It was simply too extravagant. Hey, Shinjio felt a little itchy in her heart. My goodness, if I were to put all these stone slabs away, wouldn't I make a fortune? Fortunately, this fellow was greedy for money, so he still knew what was important and what was not. When he saw that the giant had already walked forward, he quickly followed. In almost an instant, the originally empty hall was filled with many shining divine weapons. They directly blocked Yunchujio and the others from entering the hall. Lan Luofeng and the others were already trembling. If not for the fact that they still had a shred of rationality and knew that there were no living people here, they would have already knelt on the ground. Yunchujio's expression was the same as usual. She stood on her tiptoes and looked into the hall, but she couldn't see anything clearly due to the fog. At this moment, a person who looked like an attendant walked out and said arrogantly, "His Majesty has ordered you to enter." Yunchujio nodded and immediately led Lan Luofeng and the others into the Great Hall. Needless to say, the Great Hall was luxurious. What was even more amazing was that everyone's feet were surrounded by clouds and mist, making people feel as if they were floating in the air. An old man wearing a bright yellow dragon robe sat on an extremely luxurious throne in the front. He looked mighty even though he was not angry. Behind him stood several palace maids and attendants. Some of them were holding a palm fan while others were holding a tray. No one knew what was on the tray. Yunchujio saw an old man in the middle on the left and could not help but shrink her eyes. It was actually Yanfeng. However, the way Yanfeng looked at her was no different from a stranger. However, what was going on? Just as Yunchujio was sizing him up, a servant shouted sternly, "How dare you? Why aren't you kneeling when you see His Majesty?" Lan Luofeng and the others were already trembling. When they heard this, they immediately knelt on the ground, not even daring to raise their heads. They were intimidated by this pressure, and the last bit of clarity in their hearts no longer existed. They only thought that they had really met Emperor Shin. Yunchujio was not affected. She thought for a moment and understood. Everything in front of her was most likely formed from the remnant consciousness of Emperor Shin. This could also explain why Yanfeng did not recognize her. However, this Emperor Shin was not an ordinary person. Even his remnant consciousness was extremely terrifying. He had to think long and hard. Chapter 5063, Zhang Qiqi had a son. Yunchujio thought that a wise man would not be at a disadvantage in front of him. Therefore this fellow also knelt down. This fellow comforted himself in his heart. Anyway, the person in front of him was a dead person. He could just sweep his grave. What surprised Yunchujio was that the Emperor Shin said indifferently, "Although the ghost race has submitted to our celestial race as the ghost ancestor, your status is equivalent to a divine venerate. Get up. Give me a seat." Just as the Emperor Shin said that, a servant moved a chair to the left and placed it on the first seat. Yunchujio did not know what the Emperor Shin was up to, but she still walked to the side of the seat and sat down. She thought of Lan Luofeng and the others, but when she looked up, she found that Lan Luofeng and the others had disappeared. Yunchujio did not panic. As the saying goes, when the army comes, the general will block it. When the water comes, the soil will cover it. She will counter every move. I believe you have guessed it as well. Right now, I am just a remnant of my divine sense, said Emperor Shin calmly. Yunchujio did not expect Emperor Shin to admit it so easily. For a moment she did not know how to respond. Hence she did not say anything. The celestial race was completely annihilated overnight. The supreme city became an empty city overnight. This is all fate. Yunchujio saw that the Emperor Shin's voice contained some desolation, but there was no sadness. She thought to herself that this Emperor Shin's character was quite tenacious. Emperor Shin continued, "Do you know why you were able to be reborn?" Yunchujio shook her head. She naturally did not know. "This is because I used the last remaining divine power to protect your divine soul and sent you to a different world," Emperor Shin said slowly. Yunchujio revealed a shocked and grateful expression, but she did not believe it in her heart. She was not related to this bullshit Emperor Shin, so how could he be so kind? He was lying to a ghost. Emperor Shin glanced at Yunchujio indifferently and said, "You may think that I am lying to you, but do you know that I deliberately sent a woman with the bloodline of the celestial race to a different world with you in order to protect you?" Yunchujio was stunned. What did he mean? Emperor Shin did not continue, as if he was waiting for Yunchujio to take the initiative to ask. Yunchujio thought for a moment and asked, "Who is the woman that your majesty is talking about?" Yunchujio's pupils constricted slightly, and her two hands instantly clenched. She said somewhat obscurely, "The woman that your majesty is talking about is Yunqi?" "That's right. If not, why do you think Yunqi would risk her life to protect you?" "This is because I have left a mark in her spiritual sense. Her mission is to protect you," Emperor Xin said in a calm tone. Yun Chujia's expression froze. "So it was just a mission? Then where is she now? But is she okay?" Regardless of whether it was a mission or a friendship, Chi-Chi was her best friend and a friend of life and death. When you were struck by the heavenly lightning, Yun-Chi used the power of her bloodline to send you back here. Originally, she should have been teleported to the same place as you. However, due to the limited power of her bloodline, she arrived in the Tianyuan continent a little later than you. What? Yun-Chi is in the Tianyuan continent? Yin Chujio asked in surprise. She once stayed there for a short period of time. Now she is in the Supreme City. Furthermore, she has given birth to a son, Emperor Xin said. Yin Chujio was even more surprised. Son? Chi-Chi had a son? Wait a minute, if Emperor Xin said that Chi-Chi was in the Supreme City, would she be able to meet Chi-Chi? Chapter 5064 Where's his father? Yun Chujio felt as if she had forgotten something. However, her heart was filled with the desire to see Yun-Chi, so she did not think too much about it. Your Majesty, can you let me see Yun-Chi? Yun Chujio pleaded. Of course. As soon as she finished speaking, the Emperor Xin waved his sleeves and a cold and refined woman walked in from outside the hall. Beside the woman was a little boy that looked to be 7 or 8 years old. When Yun Chujio saw the little boy's appearance, she felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Damn, why did this little boy look so similar to a black chicken's head? When the woman saw Yun Chujio, a hint of excitement appeared on her cold face. However, she still bowed respectfully and said, Yun-Chi greets your majesty. The little boy beside her also bowed respectfully like a little adult. Emperor Xin's expression did not change. Instead, he said, the two of you have met again after such a long time. I believe you have a lot to say. Please leave first. I will summon the both of you in a few days. Yun Chujio had a lot to say to Yun-Chi. Hence, she gave a perfunctory bow and dragged Yun-Chi out of the main hall. Just as she was about to say something, a palace maid said, Fairies, please follow this servant to the side hall to rest. After arriving at the side hall, Yun Chujio sent the palace maid out and said impatiently, Chi-Chi, is it really you? Yun-Chi's cold face showed a helpless expression. What do you think? Yun Chujio chuckled, grabbed Yun-Chi's hand and said, I thought I was dreaming. Yun Chujio had a belly full of words, but all of them turned into silly smiles. She felt that the originally empty part of her heart had been filled with happiness. After giggling foolishly for a long time, the fellow finally looked at the little boy next to him. Although the little boy had a face that looked very similar to Shui Wuji's, his expression was similar to Yun-Chi's. It was clear and cold. Yun Chujio was just about to stretch out her demonic claws to pinch the little boy's face, but the little boy immediately dodged to the side. His phoenix-like eyes were filled with some probing and vigilance. Yun Chujio didn't succeed. She asked, Chi-Chi, is this kid your son? Why did you suddenly have such a big son? Where's his father? Yun-Chi curled her lips. His father is too useless. He went to fight monsters to level up. Yun Chujio, this guy stared at the little boy's face that resembled Shui Wuji's. Although he felt that it was impossible, he still asked, Chi-Chi, is your man called Shui Wuji? Yun Chujio, this guy felt that his brain was not enough. Although she had once thought of pairing Yun-Chi and Shui Wuji together, she felt that this wish was a little ridiculous and impossible to achieve. But now she was telling her that not only did Shui Wuji and Chi-Chi really become a couple, but their son could also be a bystander? Fuck. Did it have to be so exciting? Yun Chujio was stunned for a while before she asked, Chi-Chi, how did you and Wu Jie's heads get together? Yun-Chi froze when she heard the words Wu Jie's head. Then she said faintly, he raped me. Then I felt that he was pretty good looking and raped him instead. Yun Chujio, what the hell? Black Chicken Head raped 7-7 and then 7 raped him? These two people really knew how to play. This guy instantly thought of her. Damn it, she and the gigolo didn't even get to have sex, but Black Chicken Head and 7-7's son could even play along. It was too embarrassing. Chapter 5065 gave a big gift to Rue Air. The more Yun Chujio thought about it, the more she felt that she was really stifled. Not to mention her son, she hadn't even gotten a gigolo yet. Was strange. When did Wu Jie's head hook up with Chi-Chi? She actually didn't notice it at all. That wasn't right. It seemed that once he came to Tianyuan Academy to visit her and stayed in Tianyuan City for a long time. During that period of time, he even asked her how she would react if a woman was raped. Fuck. It turned out that he had raped Chi-Chi at that time. This damned black-headed chicken. No, Chi-Chi said that she had raped black-headed chicken instead. Now that she thought back, black-headed chicken had indeed behaved like a little wife who had been abandoned. This damned black-headed chicken. If she had told her earlier, she would have been able to see Chi-Chi earlier. Chi-Chi, does Wuji know that he has a son? Hey, Shinjio thought wickedly. If Shui Wuji did not know, she could have teased him. Yunchi guessed Yunchuji's thoughts and nodded. Then she changed the topic. Little Jio, how have you been these years? Yunchujio was stunned. Then she nodded vigorously. Good, very good. At this point, tears flowed out of her eyes. She then smiled and said, it's even better now. I thought that I would only be able to see you after I became a god. I didn't expect to see you now. Moreover, you and Wu Jia's heads have become a pair. This is really great. Yunqi's clear and cold eyes were slightly moist. Hello, I'm good. I'm good. Ruier, come over and greet your little Aunt Jio. Hearing this, Ruier bowed respectfully, but he did not walk over. Apparently, he was still guarding against Hei Xinjia's demonic claws. Hei Xinjio did not mind it. She searched the storage ring, trying to find something good to give to Ruier as a greeting gift. However, for some reason she felt that the storage ring was hazy, but she could not find anything. She laughed dryly. There's something wrong with my storage ring. I'll give you a gift when it's back to normal. Don't worry, I'm very generous. Yunqi rolled her eyes and said indifferently, if you're generous, I'm afraid it'll rain red in the sky. Yunchujio was slapped and said with her hands on her hips, all right. Then I'll give Ruier a big gift. If the pretty boy and I give birth to a daughter, how about being Ruier's wife? However, Yunqi chuckled and said, all right, it's a deal. Ruier looked at his mother speechlessly. Was it really good to trick his son like this? When Yunchujio saw that Yunqi had agreed, she smiled so happily that her eyelashes were about to blossom. She was secretly pleased. This brat Ruier looked very good. Her daughter had already won at the starting line. She was simply a winner in life. Yunchujio and Yunqi seemed to have endless things to talk about. Yunchujio wanted to ask Yunqi about her experiences over the years, but a palace maid came over and said that the Emperor Shin wanted to meet the two of them. Yunchujio was puzzled. Didn't they say that they would meet again in a few days? It seemed like only half a day had passed. However, this question quickly disappeared as if she had never had this thought. Yunchujio, Yunqi, and Ruier once again went to the Divine Hall. This time the Emperor Shin did not give Yunchujio a seat. Yunchujio, I believe you believe what I said before, right? The Emperor Shin said indifferently. Chapter 5066. Yunqi's blood. Yunchujio felt dizzy for a moment. She nodded subconsciously and said, thank you, Your Majesty, for letting me reunite with Chi-Chi. Hearing this, a faint light flashed in Emperor Shin's eyes. He said, you don't have to be so polite. I originally planned to summon you in a few days, but I suddenly remembered something, so I summoned you here. Yunqi frowned and asked, what did Your Majesty think of? Emperor Shin sighed. I suddenly remembered that the Lord also suffered a serious injury that day, so he is still suffering from the cold poison. Now I have found a way to cure him. Hearing this, Yunchujio was immediately delighted. She asked, what is it? Yunqi has the celestial bloodline. You just need to let the Lord consume Yunqi's blood. Don't worry, you don't need too much. Just a small porcelain bottle will do, Emperor Shin said slowly. Yunchujio was stunned. Yunqi's blood? Little Jio, do you want to save him? If you want, I'll give you his blood. It's just a small porcelain bottle anyway. It won't be a problem, Yunqi said. Yunchujio thought for a moment. It was just a small porcelain bottle anyway, so there was no problem. Therefore she nodded. Chi-Chi, thank you so much. Don't worry, I'll make the gigolo repay you properly. Yunqi nodded. She immediately cut her index finger and received a porcelain bottle of fresh blood. Yunchujio was about to put the porcelain bottle into her storage ring when Emperor Shin said, the divine power in your bloodline is disappearing very quickly. You must immediately feed the blood to the Lord. Hearing this, Yunchujio immediately reached into her sleeve pocket and pulled out the small silver snake. When Yunchujio saw that the small silver snake's vertical pupils were tightly shut, she could not help but be shocked. Prince Charming, what happened to you? Emperor Shin said with slight anxiety, the cold poison has acted up again. Quickly feed him the blood so that his injuries do not worsen. Yunchujio immediately opened the cork of the porcelain bottle. On the throne, Emperor Shin's face was filled with anticipation and anxiety. There was even a hint of complacency. However, he saw Yun Chujio put the stopper back on. Yun Chujio, why are you not feeding the blood to the Lord? Emperor Shin urged. Yun Chi, who was at the side, also said, that's right. Little Jio, quickly feed the blood to the Lord. Once his body recovers, the two of you will be able to get married and have children. Yun Chujio put the small silver snake back into her sleeve pocket and then fixed her gaze on Yun Chi. Yun Chi was a little scared by her stare. Little Jio, what's wrong with you? Don't you want to quickly cure the Lord's cold poison? Sheng Zun asked. Yun Chujio glanced at her a few more times, then looked at Ruier, who had always been very obedient. Finally, her gaze fell on Emperor Shen. Where did you take the real Chi-Chi and Ruier? Yun Chujio stared at Emperor Shen and asked coldly. Emperor Shen frowned slightly. Yun Chujio, what do you mean by this? Yun Chujio pinched her palm with her fingernails so that she could remain clear-headed. She said coldly, Yun Chi never talks so much. Moreover, that little brat's gaze isn't right either. The reason why you couldn't wait to call me over is because you want to swap the real Chi-Chi and her son, right? Tell me, where are they? Otherwise I'll kill you. Emperor Shin sneered. Good. As expected of the former ghost ancestor. You're indeed smarter than others. It's just that it's too late for you to understand. The time limit for the teleportation barrier has passed. You and Di Bei Ming can stay in this supreme city forever. Chapter 5067. The illusionary realm of drinking poison to quench thirst. As soon as Emperor Shin's voice fell, his entire person disappeared. An intense pain came from Yun Chujio's dantian. Her entire person suddenly became clear-headed. Only then did Yun Chujio realize that there was no fake Yun Chi and her mother by her side. Instead, it was the muddle-headed Lan Luoyen and the others. They were still in the Great Hall at this moment. However, the Great Hall was already empty. Yun Chujio was stunned for a moment. The first thing she did was to look at the small silver snake in her sleeve. When she saw that the small silver snake's vertical pupils were closed, her heart tightened. She stretched out her hand to check for breath. When she saw that the breath was still normal, she heaved a sigh of relief. She looked at the porcelain bottle in her hand. She did not open the cork but kept it in her storage ring. After she was freed, she would let go Weiba analyze the ingredients in the bottle. Perhaps it would be able to solve the mystery of the cold poison in Di Bei Ming's body. Yun Chujio laughed bitterly. Even though Yen Feng warned her not to trust others, she was still tricked. Chi-Chi was a hole in her heart. Even if there was a tiny possibility, she did not want to miss it. It was because her obsession was too strong. Even the pain caused by the black bead did not wake her up. In other words, she was addicted to the illusion of drinking poison to quench her thirst. She was satisfied to be able to see Chi-Chi, talk to her, and know if she was doing well. However, the illusion was too real. She couldn't find any flaws in it. What was going on? At the same time, in a bedroom, a cold-looking woman opened her eyes. She was dazed for a moment, then jumped up from the bed and called out in fear, Ruier. Ruier. Mother? A confused child's voice came from the side room. The woman closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Then she rushed to the next room. On the bed sat a 7 or 8-year-old little boy. The little boy's features were like a painting, especially his phoenix eyes. Even though he was still young, he was still so stunning that people could not take their eyes off him. The woman nervously checked the little boy. When she saw that he was fine, she heaved a sigh of relief. It was rare for the little boy to see a woman so nervous. He then recalled the dream he had just had. After hesitating for a moment, he said, Mother, I had a dream just now. The woman was startled. What dream? We seem to have arrived at a palace. There's Emperor Shen and many palace maids. Alright, there's also a, somewhat strange woman. You asked me to call her little ninth aunt. When the woman heard the little boy's description, her expression became more and more solemn. Why did she and Ruier have the same dream? The little boy omitted the matter of that strange aunt wanting to give her daughter to him as his wife. That aunt was so strange. He did not want that kind of wife. After the little boy finished speaking, he saw the woman's solemn expression and asked somewhat uneasily, Mother, what's wrong? The woman was different from ordinary parents. She had always treated the little boy as an equal, so she did not hide anything and said, Mother, and you had the same dream. The little boy was stunned. Mother, is there something wrong? The woman nodded slightly. No one in the world would have the same dream. Moreover, we had the same dream at the same time. The little boy's exquisite little face turned solemn. Mother, then do you really know little Aunt Jo? Is there really such a person as little Aunt Jo? The woman nodded. Of course. Mother's only relative is your little Aunt Jo. Chapter 5068. Is little Aunt Jo really that smart? A hint of worry appeared in the little boy's phoenix-like eyes. Mother, since this dream is a little inappropriate, could little Aunt Gio really be trapped in that palace? Will anything happen to little Aunt Gio? The woman was not surprised by her son's intelligence. After a moment of silence, she said, even if your little Aunt Gio is really trapped inside, she will be able to escape safely. The little boy asked in puzzlement, why is that? A smile appeared on the woman's cold face. Because your little ninth aunt is the smartest person in the world. She will think of a way to resolve it. When the little boy heard this, he did not believe it. That little ninth aunt was strange. Could she really be that smart? The woman seemed to see through the little boy's thoughts and said softly, do you think that mother is exaggerating? The little boy's face flushed red and said uneasily, Mother, is that little Aunt Gio really that smart? The woman chuckled and did not say anything, her thoughts drifting away. When little Gio had just been brought back by the people from the organization, she was only 6 years old, 2 or 3 years younger than her companions. In addition, she was a little beggar before, thin and small. Everyone wondered how such a good-for-nothing could be chosen. Naturally, everyone despised and ostracized her. In addition to the fact that it was a hell that ate people without spitting out their bones, everyone thought that she would be the first to die. However, in just a year, Xiao Jiu, who was only 7 years old, had become the leader of their group and finally became her partner. Seeing that his mother did not speak, the little boy thought for a moment and asked, Mother, Aunt Xiao Jiu said that she knows father. Is that true? The girl's thoughts were interrupted by the little boy's words. When she heard him mention Shui Wuji, she could not help but be startled. Then she said, if we have the chance to see that unreliable father of yours again, we will ask him and we will know. The little boy's face appeared a little unnatural, but he still asked, Mother, when will we be able to see father again? The girl's cold face also revealed a little discomfort. When your father becomes stronger after killing monsters, we will naturally be able to see him. The little boy was used to his mother's odd words. He mumbled, Father is so stupid. The woman, Hei Xinjiu, who was missed by the mother and son, sneezed, Achoo. Is Chi-Chi talking about me? I wonder if what I saw before was real? Forget it. We'll find out after we go out and ask Wuji's head. Yun Chuzhou mumbled before splashing water on Lan Luofeng and the others to wake them up. Lan Luofeng and the others had confused looks on their faces. What happened? Their memories were still stuck at the moment they saw Emperor Shen. After that, everything went blank. Lan Luomu took out a spirit tool that could show the date and time. Then he widened his eyes in horror. No, that's impossible. We were only unconscious for a while. How could so many days have passed? Lan Luofeng and the others were immediately shocked when they heard that. They moved closer to Lan Luomu to take a look and were instantly dumbfounded. Could it be that there's something wrong with your spirit tool? We clearly only fell asleep for a short while. Lan Luoyen said, unwilling to give up. The others also agreed. If so many days had really passed, then wouldn't they have already missed the teleportation barrier? Wouldn't that mean they would be stuck here forever? No, that was absolutely impossible. There must be something wrong with the spiritual artifact. Chapter 5069. Emperor Shen Yun Chuzhou sighed. The spirit weapon did not make a mistake. We have indeed missed the teleportation barrier. The reason why Yun Chuzhou was so certain was that she had asked the dumb cuties and even asked the black bead for confirmation. The black bead would not be affected by the illusion. If she had not been too obsessed, she would not have been tricked by Emperor Shen. Even though the black bead had warned her, she was still immersed in the illusion of drinking poison to quench her thirst. The black bead was afraid that it would damage her dantian, so she did not dare to go overboard. When everyone heard Yun Chuzhou's words, they immediately sat down on the ground. Was over. They were going to be trapped in this supreme city. Yun Chuzhou thought for a moment. If she wanted to get out, the breakthrough would undoubtedly be on that Emperor Shen. She naturally did not believe what Emperor Shen had said to her in the illusory realm. That old thing obviously did not have any good intentions. She blinked her eyes and shouted with her hands on her waist, Emperor Shen, come out. A dignified Emperor Shen actually used such a lowly method to trap us. Is this a distortion of divinity or a depravity of morality? Just as Yun Chuzhou finished her sentence, a shadow appeared on the dragon throne. It was the Emperor Shen. Yun Chuzhou, you brought this upon yourself. If you had fed the medicine to Di Biming as I said, you would have already left this place. The Emperor Shen sneered. To think that you would say such a thing? That is my fiancé. Why would I harm him? I don't understand. You only have a strand of divine sense left. Why would you want to kill him? Yun Chuzhou asked in confusion. Emperor Shen sighed, The medicine I gave you was not to kill him, but to strengthen his seal. Once his seal is strengthened, the cold poison will naturally be reduced. Although you and Di Biming were lovers in your previous life, there is a deep hatred between you. Once he unseals all the seals, it will be too late for you to regret. I am also helping you. Why don't you pour the medicine down his throat right now and everyone will be happy? Wouldn't that be great? Yun Chujio looked deeply at Emperor Shin. Your Majesty, Emperor Shin, do you think I am a fool? Emperor Shin was suddenly angered from embarrassment. What I am saying to you is all good advice. If you don't listen, I have no other choice. Then you can just die here. Yun Chujio laughed crisply. Your Majesty, Emperor Shin, I originally thought that you are a drifter now. There are some things that are hard to say, but you can't treat me as a fool, right? If you really had good intentions, why didn't you tell me openly? Why did you make me fall into an illusion and make up such a lie? Furthermore, if you were really that smart, your celestial race wouldn't have all died. This supreme city wouldn't have become an empty city. Emperor Shin was so angry that he was trembling. Good, very good. You are indeed sharp-tongued. Aren't you afraid that I will kill Yun Qi and her son? Yun Chujio sneered. If you really had that ability, you would have done it long ago. Why would you need to spend so much effort to set up an illusion array? Although I don't know how you did it, you won't have a second chance. When Yun Chujio said this, killing intent suddenly rose. Lan Luofeng and the others could not help but tremble. Yun Chujio, I can't be bothered to waste my breath on you. No matter how smart you are, no matter how sharp-tongued you are, you can only be trapped here. The moment Emperor Shin's voice fell, the phantom disappeared. Yun Chujio did not obtain much useful information from this conversation. Hence she said, Emperor Shin, why are you in such a hurry to run? Come out, I have something to ask you. Chapter 50-70, You are really naive, Yun Chujio shouted a few times, but Emperor Shin did not come out again. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and shouted, Emperor Shin, I think what you said makes sense. As long as I pour the medicine into the pretty boy, you will send us out? You are not lying to us? Of course it's true. Junwoo is not joking. Emperor Shin's figure appeared again. How do I know that you're not lying to me? The teleportation barrier has already been closed. How can you send us out? Yun Chujio asked suspiciously. I naturally have my ways. You just need to do as I say. Emperor Shin said somewhat impatiently. Yun Chujio's eyes flashed and she said with her hands on her hips, All right, if you don't keep your word, then you're just an old bastard. Emperor Shin gritted his teeth, but he endured it and did not say a word. Yun Chujio took out a porcelain bottle from her storage ring and a small silver snake from her sleeve pocket. Just as she was about to pour the medicine into the porcelain bottle, Emperor Shin suddenly said, Wait, throw the porcelain bottle on the ground and drink this bottle of medicine. Yun Chujio curled her lips. It's really troublesome. Even though she said that, she still threw the porcelain bottle aside and picked up the porcelain bottle that Emperor Shin threw over. Sigh. Pretty boy, there's nothing I can do. As the saying goes, husband and wife are birds in the same forest. When disaster strikes, they fly separately. I can't do anything about it. Don't blame me. Pretty boy, I was forced to do this. Don't blame me. Pretty boy, don't worry. Even if you become a fool after drinking the medicine, I will take care of you for the rest of your life. There was a hint of mockery in Emperor Shin's eyes. Everyone was selfish. Didn't Yun Chujio say so much just to find an excuse for herself? Finally, Yun Chujio stopped blabbering. She opened the bottle stopper and poured the medicine into the small silver snake's mouth. Yun Chujio put the small silver snake back into her sleeve pocket and said, Can you let us out now? Emperor Shin laughed out loud. Yun Chujio, you are really smart and muddle-headed. Do you think I will let you go? Yun Chujio took 2 steps back in disbelief. You lied to me? Emperor Shin laughed for a while more before saying, Yun Chujio, you are really naive. Yun Chujio was so angry that she was twitching. You, the dignified Emperor Shin, actually did not keep your word. Do you still have any face? Also, what kind of medicine did you ask me to give the gigolo? Naturally, it's a medicine that will take his life. As long as he dies, our celestial race will be resurrected, and our celestial race will return to its former glory. Emperor Shin said somewhat crazily. Yun Chujio's heart shook. What did he mean? What did he mean by the death of the gigolo and the celestial race will be resurrected? She did not have the time to think about it. The most important thing now was to deal with this cunning and ruthless Emperor Shin. She looked as if she had suffered a huge blow as she shouted, You're shameless. Too shameless. As the Emperor Shin, you actually lied to me. Actually, you have no way to send us out, right? What about those people who came in with us? Were they also killed by you? Emperor Shin seemed to enjoy seeing Yun Chujia's defeated look. He said proudly, those people have already used the teleportation barrier to leave. You probably don't know about it, right? The teleportation array was set up on the 4th level, inside the Zhenwei Divine General's residence. I used a little trick to trick all of you to come here. If not, do you think that the 4th level will have an array that leads directly to the Divine Emperor Pavilion? Ah. You have always claimed to be smart, but in reality, you are only SOSO. Chapter 5071 Dream Entry Technique. When Yun Chujio heard this, she looked as though she had suffered a huge blow. She was somewhat vexed. That's right, she had been careless. She did not even think about it. That Zhenwei Divine General's rank was not high. How could he have a token that could lead straight to the Divine Emperor Pavilion? However, she had placed too much trust in the spirit weapon in Lan Luma's hands. It must have been done by the Emperor Shin that caused the spirit weapon to malfunction. When the Emperor Shin saw Yun Chujia's dejected look, he felt very relieved. He continued, if you had not arrived here, I would not have been able to make Di Baiming fall into a deep sleep. Therefore all of this was caused by your stupidity. The rumors that the ghost ancestor's wisdom is stronger than the gods were just rumors. Yun Chujio smiled bitterly, I was indeed too stupid. I admit defeat. However, why did you let those people out? Wouldn't it be better to just trap them here? Emperor Shin snorted coldly, letting them out will make the people outside lower their guard and think that there is nothing unusual about this supreme city. To avoid attracting unnecessary trouble. After all, it was not easy for me to get this opportunity, so I naturally have to be careful. Yun Chujio nodded, Emperor Shin is indeed Emperor Shin. He is actually so meticulous. However, you probably have no way to teleport us out, right? After all, if you had such a method, you wouldn't be trapped here forever. Of course, I have a way to teleport all of you out. Right now, I am only a wisp of spiritual sense. If I leave this place, it will completely dissipate, so I don't dare to leave this place. However, I can be revived very soon. This 3,000 large and small continents will be mine again. Ah. Emperor Shin laughed crazily. I don't believe it. If you really have a way to teleport us out, why does Supreme City only open once every 30 years? You must be exaggerating. In reality, you don't have much divine power left. Yun Chujio shook her head and said, That's right. In order to design all of this, I have exhausted all of my divine power. However, this Supreme City has a teleportation array that leads to the outside world. As long as it is activated, I will naturally be able to do it. However, I have no intention of letting you guys go, so you can give up on this idea. However, don't worry, I will not kill you. After my divine power recovers, I will use my divine power to unlock your seal and then read your memories. After all, everyone knows that the ghost ancestor is rich. The treasures that you have hidden are all mine. Ah. Yun Chujio was so angry that her face turned red. You are shameless. You are shameless. I know now. That teleportation array was prepared for you to use after your resurrection. Am I right? Emperor Shin snorted coldly. You are finally smart. That's right. After my resurrection, I do not have the patience to wait for 30 years. I can directly exit that teleportation array. Yun Chujio asked in puzzlement, Emperor Shin, I heard that the celestial race can tear through the void. Since that's the case, why do you still want to set up a teleportation array here? Emperor Shin snorted coldly. There are countless things that people spread rumors about. Although our celestial race can tear through the void, there are many restrictions. Furthermore, the location of this supreme city is quite special. In addition, after I resurrect, my divine power will definitely be very weak. Naturally, it will be difficult for me to use the void technique. Then what about the 77th mother and son that I saw when I fell into the illusion? Yun Chujio asked. Emperor Shin was now very pleased with himself, but he still had a little bit of pride in him. He said, This is the Dreamland art. Although it has consumed a lot of my divine power, no matter what, it is still worth it to trap you here. Chapter 5072. Just wait for your resurrection. Yun Chujio was delighted when she heard Emperor Shin's words. In that case, the Chi-Chi and Rue that she had seen were both real. That was great. As long as Chi-Chi and she were on the same plane, she would definitely have a way to find Chi-Chi. It had to be said that this idiot Shui Wuji was really blessed. He had actually flirted with Chi-Chi and even had an elder son. Yun Chujio suppressed the joy in her heart and continued to deal with Emperor Shin. So it's the dream entering technique. The celestial race really lives up to its reputation. Emperor Shin said proudly, of course. When the celestial race was at its peak, there was no force in this world that could contend with our celestial race. If it wasn't for the fact that I only had a remnant of my spiritual sense, it wouldn't have been difficult to capture that mother and son to Supreme City. Oh, why have I heard that the demon race isn't weak? Yun Chujio said indifferently. Demon race? They're just a bunch of crooks. How can they be compared to my celestial race? Emperor Shin said disdainfully. Yun Chujio did not argue with him. Instead, she changed the topic. I was indeed one step behind this time. It was just my carelessness. Let me guess where the teleportation array will be set up. I feel that there is a high chance that it will be in the Divine Emperor Pavilion. Furthermore, it will be in this great hall. Am I right? When Yun Chujio said this, she stared intently into Emperor Shin's eyes, not missing a single change. When she saw Emperor Shin's pupils suddenly constrict, she had a guess in her heart. It seemed that she was right. Emperor Shin snorted coldly. You want to find out the location of the teleportation array? Dream on. Yun Chujio could not be bothered to put on an act anymore. She sneered, Emperor Shin, it doesn't matter if you don't say it. I'll find it myself. I don't believe that I can't find it. Emperor Shin said coldly, I can be resurrected immediately. Do you think you still have a chance to find the teleportation array? Yun Chujio shrugged her shoulders, old bastard, then just wait for your resurrection. What do you mean? Emperor Shin had an ominous premonition in his heart. Isn't the literal meaning that you're smart? Slowly understand it yourself. Yun Chujio said indifferently. The ominous premonition in Emperor Shin's heart was even greater. He asked in a slightly flustered manner, You didn't feed the poison to D. Biming? No. Impossible. I personally saw you feed the medicinal liquid in the porcelain bottle to him. Yun Chujio completely ignored him. Instead, she sized up the Grand Hall's layout. The Grand Hall's layout was very luxurious. However, where was the teleportation array hidden? Yun Chujio said to Lan Luofeng and the others, that old bastard's divine power has almost been used up. There's no need to be afraid of him. Everyone look for it. This teleportation array is definitely in this Grand Hall. Lan Luofeng and the others were already dumbfounded. They felt that their brains were no longer sufficient. What ghost ancestor, D. Biming, the celestial race, Chi-Chi, what kind of nonsense was this? Lan Luofeng asked weakly, Little Jiu, will that Emperor Shin really not do anything to us? Don't worry. I didn't see his figure getting fainter and fainter. If he still had the ability, he would have long subdued us. He's just a paper tiger, Yun Chujio said disdainfully. The reason why she had been dealing with him for so long was firstly to get information from him. Secondly, she wanted to confirm her judgment. From the looks of it, he was already at the end of his rope and had no other means. Seeing that he had no signs of revival, Emperor Shin then heard Yun Chujio's words and shouted in panic, Yun Chujio, are you lying to me? How did you do it? Yun Chujio curled the corner of her lips. Guess. Chapter 5073 Are you really that stupid? Emperor Shin was so angry that he nearly vomited blood. If he could guess it, why would he ask her? Yun Chujio ignored him and treated him as a decoration. Emperor Shin was so angry that he could not care about his dignity anymore. He was unwilling to accept this. He had used almost all of his remaining divine power to set up such a trap. In the end, he did not even know how he failed. One could imagine how aggrieved he was. Yun Chujio, tell me, what did you do? I watched you pour poison into D. Biming, but why is he still alive? Yun Chujio originally did not want to bother with him, but she recalled that D. Biming had once told her that he would not die. Then the question was, why was the Emperor Shin so sure that the gigolo would die if he drank the poison? Could it be that someone had misled him? Yun Chujio thought of this and sighed, Emperor Shin, I did feed him the poison you gave me, but I don't know why he did not die. I feel that there is something wrong with your poison. After all, the gigolo is the reincarnation of Xingzun. Normal poison would not be able to kill him. The Emperor Shin was stunned before he shook his head. Impossible. As long as he drinks the poison, he will die. I can be revived. The celestial race can prosper. Why are you so sure? Where did that poison come from? Yun Chujio asked. Emperor Shin was in a daze. Where did the poison come from? That's right, how did I get this medicine? Emperor Shin suddenly covered his head and said repeatedly, as long as he drinks that poison, he will die. I will be able to revive. The celestial race will prosper. As long as he drinks the poison, he will die. I will be able to revive. The celestial race will prosper. Yun Chujio was speechless. Was this Emperor Shin crazy? Her expression suddenly turned cold. She remembered that Yen Feng and the others had left a mark on their spiritual senses. This Emperor Shin was probably the same. Could it be that this was a trap? In fact, Emperor Shin was just someone's chess piece? Yun Chujio's first thought was the Divine Devil Hall. Who was the master of this Divine Devil Hall? To think that even Emperor Shin could be toyed with? Fortunately, the porcelain bottle that Emperor Shin had given her looked almost the same as the ancient green jade bottle in her storage ring. Only then did she take the opportunity to switch the porcelain bottle. As she was holding the porcelain bottle with her hand and using her sleeve to cover it, Emperor Shin did not see any flaws. Yun Chujio did not have the time to think about it. It was better to find the exit first. Otherwise, the person behind it might have other tricks up his sleeve. At this moment, Lan Luofeng and the rest had already rummaged through the hall for a while, but they did not find anything. Yun Chujio's gaze landed on the dragon throne where Emperor Shin was sitting. Hence, she walked towards Emperor Shin. When Emperor Shin saw Yun Chujio walking over, his scattered gaze turned fierce. It's all because of you. If it wasn't for you, I would have been able to revive and the celestial race would have prospered. I want to kill you. Yun Chujio sneered. Emperor Shin, don't you understand that you have been used by others? You are truly pathetic. Not only did you destroy the celestial race, you even ended up becoming a pawn of your enemy. You are spouting nonsense. I don't understand what you are saying. You deserve to die. Emperor Shin said with a ferocious expression. I am spouting nonsense? Don't you think about it? You have been dead for tens of thousands of years. Why do you only have such a thought now? Let's not talk about other things. Where did the poison come from? Who told you about Chi-Chi? No matter what, the celestial race was once an expert in this world and had supreme glory. As the Emperor Shin, are you really so stupid? Chapter 5074 The Ghost Ancestor was indeed the ghost ancestor. Under the intense gaze of Yun Chujio, the Emperor Shin could not help but be stunned when he heard what she said. Even if he was just a wisp of divine sense, even if there was something wrong with his divine sense as the former Emperor Shin, he knew that what Yun Chujio said was the truth. He had been used by someone. What was laughable was that he was muddle-headed and did not know who had used him. It was as though the thought of killing Di Biming will bring him back to life, and the celestial race will prosper came naturally. The poison also appeared out of thin air. When Yun Chujio saw that he had regained his calmness, she said, Emperor Shin, you should know that even if you kill Di Biming, you will not come back to life. The celestial race will not return to their former prosperity. All of this is just a scam. Furthermore, if I'm not wrong, the stray beasts on the streets and floating layers should be formed from the remnant consciousness of the Celestials. The Celestials of the past have turned into ugly and ferocious stray beasts. It's really a pity. Therefore, even if the so-called resurrection is true, those Celestials who are resurrected will not be the Celestials but a bunch of monsters. Since there was still a remnant of the divine consciousness left behind by Emperor Shin, the other Celestials should also have a remnant of the divine consciousness. However, other than Yen Feng, Yun Chujio did not meet any of them. Furthermore, there were no corpses after the beasts died. Only the Wanzhu which could calm the mind was left behind. That was why there was such a guess. Confusion, shock, and anger flashed across Emperor Shin's face one after another. His figure became even fainter as he said sorrowfully, I, Cheong Huang, am an honorable Emperor Shin. Not only was the celestial race exterminated by my hands, but I was even toyed with by others in the end. I have let down the ancestors of the celestial race. I deserve to die. Yun Chujio thought to herself, deserve to die. You cannot be any more dead, all right? After a long while, Emperor Shin said, the ghost ancestor is indeed the ghost ancestor. I admit defeat. Hey Shinjio sighed. What do you mean we are not at a disadvantage? We have all been played by others. It's only a matter of time. The Emperor Shin said with a bitter smile, no. Although we were fooled as well, at least you were able to wake up in time. I, on the other hand, refused to do so. The Emperor Shin paused for a moment before he said, my spiritual perception has been tampered with. There are many things that I cannot say even if I have thoughts in my heart. However, there is one thing that you should know. The person behind the scenes wants Di Biming dead. Yun Chujio nodded. This point was right. The poor gigolo was being chased by people all day long. Furthermore, he had to endure the pain of the cold poison. She did not know which bastard wanted to kill him. When Emperor Shin saw Yun Chujio nod, he continued, the person behind the scenes clearly has terrifying strength. Even someone as strong as my celestial race has suffered the calamity of extermination. Yun Chujio gritted her teeth and said, "You know about the Divine Devil Hall, right? I think that the person behind this should be that dogshit master of the Divine Devil Hall. It's just that I haven't been able to find his lair. Otherwise, I would have to think of a way to kill him." The Emperor Shin seemed to want to say something, but because his divine sense had been imprinted, he could not say anything. After all, the Emperor Shin was the Emperor Shin. Even though he was only a remnant of his consciousness, he still thought of a way to bypass the divine sense imprint. Hence he said, "Your seal hasn't been unsealed and the world doesn't know about some things. They'll tell you some things that I know. I believe that with your intelligence you'll definitely gain something in the future. Although the era we're in is called the Ancient Era, it's actually the last generation of the Ancient Era." Chapter 5075 was getting more and more interesting. Yun Chujia's eyes flashed. Meng Yanshou had previously told her about the first generation of the Ancient Era, the middle generation of the Ancient Era, and the last generation of the Ancient Era. However, its knowledge was limited and its words were very vague. Could it be that there was some big secret behind this? Emperor Shin continued, "When the Hun was first created, there was only one continent in this world. It was called the Great Wilderness. At that time there were no races like gods and demons. There were only some mysterious species that had gone extinct. As it was a long time ago, no one knew what exactly existed at that time." At this moment, Emperor Shin's figure became fainter. Hence, he heaved a sigh of relief before continuing, "After the Great Wilderness, an unknown change happened. The continent was split into two. This was the Mesozoic era. Tens of thousands of years later, the two continents suddenly began to break apart, turning into several continents with different levels of spiritual power. This is the last generation. Then came the war between the gods and demons. After the celestial race and the demon race demarcated their territories, they lived peacefully for tens of thousands of years. Then the celestial race was destroyed. At this point, Emperor Shin's expression became extremely pained. He wanted to say something, but because of the mark in his spiritual sense, he didn't say anything in the end. Seeing this, Yun Chujio hurriedly asked, "I roughly know what happened after that. There's no need for you to say anything else. Is this what you want to tell me?" Emperor Shin slowly said, "In the various records, there's nothing about the ancient and Mesozoic era. In fact, our celestial race has a small amount of records regarding this." Yun Chujia's eyes widened. She had a vague feeling that she was about to discover a huge secret. Emperor Shin was about to say something when he let out a miserable cry. It turned out that although he had thought of a way to bypass the spiritual perception mark, he had still triggered the spiritual perception mark. He said with difficulty, "I have triggered the spiritual perception mark. It will disappear completely soon. The teleportation array is under the dragon throne. You only need to put in the God Spirit Pearl to activate it. In addition, I have another request." Yun Shi, before Emperor Shin could speak, his figure completely disappeared and turned into nothingness. Yun Chujio was speechless. This half-sentence was the most deceitful. What exactly did he want to say about Yun Chi? At this moment, the palace trembled violently, and everyone couldn't help but panic. Yun Chujio didn't dare to be negligent. She quickly ordered everyone to move the dragon chair away. As expected, an array disc was found under the dragon chair. However, what the hell was the God's spiritual pearl? Lan Luofang said, "Little Jiu, didn't we find 2 beads in the ruins of the stairs? That should be the God's spiritual pearl." Yun Chujio laughed bitterly. Her mind was in a mess now. She was really smart for a moment, but she actually forgot about this. Yun Chujio immediately took out one of the beads and placed it in the array plate. Immediately, a barrier with spirit energy ripples appeared in front of everyone. Everyone was overjoyed and quickly walked in. A blinding light flashed, and Yun Chujio and the others disappeared from where they were. After Yun Chujio and the others disappeared, a miniature Gowei Batsao jumped out from a corner. Gowei Bakao's color was already very dim. When it entered the palace, it was originally on Yun Chujio's hair. However, when the Emperor Shin used the Dreamland technique, the Gowei Batsao was sent flying by the Emperor Shin's divine power. After all, this fellow was only a small treasury of Guaichao. Therefore, he did not dare to overestimate himself by jumping forward. He only hid in a corner and watched. As time passed, it had almost dissipated. Therefore, it did not move closer to Yun Chujio to avoid being discovered. It recalled what the Emperor Shin had said. The leaves trembled. Things were getting more and more interesting. Chapter 5076. Our Lan family is number 1. Yun Chujio knew nothing about Goei Bakao's secret stash. At this moment, she, Lan Luofeng, and the others had already been teleported outside. They had thought that 10 days had passed since the end of the trial and that the people from the 4 great families had already left. They had not expected that everyone was still here. When the people from the 4 great clans saw Yun Chujio and the others who had suddenly appeared, their faces were filled with astonishment. Weren't these people already dead? Why had they suddenly appeared? Moreover, the divine relic trial had already ended and the barrier had long been closed. How did they get out? Lan Dimeo was extremely happy. He had thought that the entire Lan family had been wiped out this time. He had not expected that they would all come out alive. This was great. A hint of joy appeared on old Tua's cold and hard face. He knew that the troublemaker would not die so easily. Lan Luohan and Lan Luoshan had a complicated look on their faces. There was panic, fear, and a hint of disbelief. Although Lan Dimeo was very curious, he was not stupid. Naturally, he would not ask anything in front of everyone. He only asked a few perfunctory questions. Great uncle, I remember that the 4 families need to have a competition, right? I wonder where our Lan family is ranked this time? Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and asked. Lan Dimeo looked a little dejected. Each of the 3 families got 4 pearls of delusion, while Luohan and Luoshan only got 1 pearl of delusion. However, this is not a big deal. As long as you guys come out safely. Other than slaughtering some wild beasts on the flat streets, Mu Zian and the others relied on sacrificing the lives of their companions to advance in the levitation layer. Therefore there were not many wild pearls. Aya, what a coincidence. I still have 4 wild pearls here. Doesn't that mean that our Lan family is number 1? Hei Shinjio took out 4 wild pearls with a smile. Lan Dimeo was both surprised and happy. He had been ridiculed by the other 3 families many times in the past few days. Now he could finally be proud. The people from the other 3 families were shocked when they saw this. Chi Tianhui snorted and said, Yun Chujio, 2 of the pearls were killed by the 4 families together. They are not yours. Yun Chujio shrugged. According to you, Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan are also part of your pearls. Why didn't you share them with the Lan family? You're not strong enough yet, you're still acting shamelessly. Do you still have any shame? Chi Tianhui was so humiliated that he turned into anger. Bitch. You're courting death. Tiske, you're so unreasonable that you scold people. Is that all you've got? I won't lower myself to your level. Anyway, the first place goes to our Lan family. It's useless even if you scold Padian, Yun Chujio said with a smile. This guy did not forget the Blue Ancestor's words, she not only to Lan Luofeng and others out safely, but also to get the first place in order to complete the mission. Qi Anqing saw that Chi Tianhui was annoyed by Yun Chujio, and his face instantly darkened. Just as he was about to make a move, Zhuang Ruhai, who was at the side, lowered his voice and said, Brother Qi, the ranking of the divine relic trial does not involve the division of interests. It is just a matter of ranking. Let him be. Qi Anqing's face was vicious. Brother Zhuang, we have 3 times more people than them. Why don't we just kill them? Zhuang Ruhai shook his head. That hunchback's strength is unfathomable. Do not act rashly. There is still time in the future. Sooner or later, the Lan family will belong to us. Qi Anqing snorted unwillingly. Forget it. Let them play around for a few days. I don't know when this damn Earth Dragon reversal will end. I have really stayed in this damn place enough. Chapter 5077 was too embarrassing. The reason why the members of the 4 great families had been staying here was because the Earth Dragons were frequently turning over in the Bailuo mountain range hundreds of miles away from Baili. The Bailuo mountain range was the place they had to pass before they could leave. In addition, it was forbidden to fly there, so they could only wait for the Earth Dragons to turn over and calm down before they could leave. Yun Chujio also learned about this matter from Lan Dimeo. She didn't care about it. It was the same no matter where they were. Lan Luoyan saw Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan gnashing their teeth in anger. She wished she could go up and strangle them. However, she was now habitually obedient to Yun Chujio's words. Seeing that Yun Chujio didn't say anything, she didn't dare to say anything. Yun Chujio was looking for an opportunity to say something to Lan Luoyan and the others when she felt the small silver snake in her sleeve wake up. She was overjoyed and couldn't wait to check on the little silver snake's condition. Thus, she glanced at Lan Luofeng and the others, warning them not to act rashly. Then she ran behind a small mound in the distance. To be safe, she opened the isolation array and took out the little silver snake from her sleeve. Although the small silver snake had woken up, it did not seem to be in a good condition. Yun Chujio asked worriedly, "Prince Charming, are you all right? Why did you faint previously?" "It doesn't matter. Tell me what exactly happened?" the small silver snake said. Yun Chujio told her everything and then said, "That old thing Emperor Shin said half a sentence. I don't know what secret the ancient Mesozoic era has. I always feel that it's a huge secret. Also, what does the matter he begged me have to do with Yun Chi?" As the small silver snake had lost its memory, it did not know much about Yun Chi, so it asked about Yun Chi. Yun Chujio could only recount the events of her previous life, and then she said, "That Yen Feng said that I'm an extraterrestrial soul, so it makes some sense. However, wasn't I the ghost ancestor in my previous life? This can't be considered an extraterrestrial soul, right?" The small silver snake did not understand Yen Feng's intention for a moment. Perhaps it was an oversight. Just as he was thinking, Yun Chujio slapped her thigh. "Oh right, I have to send a sound transmission talisman to Wu Ji's head first to ask him about Chi Chi. This Wu Ji's head is really powerful. He actually hid it from me for such a long time." The small silver snake stopped her. "It's not too late to ask when we meet. Besides, how are you going to explain the matter between you and Yun Chi?" Yun Chujio was stunned. This matter was really a little complicated. She could not explain it clearly in just a few sentences. Forget it. In any case, this matter was most likely true, so it would not take too long. Therefore, she gave up the idea of sending a voice transmission talisman to Shui Wuji. This fellow sighed. "Even the head of the black chicken and the son of Chi Chi can be a bystander. How are we doing? We didn't even get out of bed. It's too embarrassing." Due to his amnesia, he didn't know that Yun Chujio didn't come to Kueishui because of Guai Chao. He was puzzled. Was he an idiot before he lost his memory? Why didn't he have sex with the ugly girl? Cough cough. He didn't want to have sex with the ugly girl. He was just curious. Yes, that was it. Yun Chujio saw the small silver snake turn a faint pink. She asked fiercely, "What unhealthy thing are you thinking about? You pervert." The small silver snake. She was the one who brought up the idea of having sex first, all right? Why was it his fault? Chapter 5078, Mengyan Shohei Shinjo suddenly remembered that she was the one who brought up the matter first. Therefore Wan Yin's thick-skinned face felt a little hot. The guy stuffed the silver snake into his sleeve and grumbled, "I'm too lazy to talk to a pervert like you." The silver snake gritted its teeth secretly. He would deal with this ugly girl after his body recovered. When the time came, he would definitely let her know what a husband's class was. Yun Chujio put away the isolation disc and waved at Lan Luofang and the others. Lan Luofang and the others had been staring at her. When they saw her waving, they quickly ran over. When she saw Yun Chujio open the isolation disc, Lan Luoyen gritted her teeth and said, "Captain, why did you stop me from getting even with those two bastards?" Yun Chujio smiled lightly and said, "Do you think that if you say it, the third elder will believe your words or Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan's words?" Lan Luoyen was stunned. Lan Luohan was Lan Dimeo's favorite junior. In addition, she was a member of the Big Branch, so Lan Dimeo would naturally not speak to her. "Then, are we just going to let this matter go? Are we letting the two of them off?" Lan Luoyen said unwillingly. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes and said, "It's not that simple. Think about it. The Mu family can't wait to kill the Lan family. Why did Lan Luohan and Lan Luohan come out safely?" Lan Luma's mind was more flexible than the others. He said uncertainly, "You mean the two of them are in collusion with the other three families? Could it be that third elder has a different intention?" Yun Chujio shook her head. "Third elder is not that muddle-headed. I think this has something to do with Zhuangshi's family. Don't alert the enemy first. When you go back, start the investigation. Remember this sentence, cut the weeds and get rid of the roots. Otherwise you will only alert the enemy." Lan Luomu and the others nodded. After this experience, their disdain and contempt for Yun Chujio had been replaced by reverence. They believed her words without a doubt. Yun Chujio took out a porcelain bottle. "Didn't you take the poison pill of Elder Tua? This is the antidote. Take it." Everyone believed her words and immediately swallowed it. Then, they fainted. Yun Chujio released the Meng Yanshou and asked it to erase everything that happened after they reached the 4th level of the levitation layer. She changed it to say that they had accidentally found a teleportation array on the 4th level of the levitation layer and were able to escape. A moment later, the Meng Yanshou said weakly, "This time I used too much of my spiritual power. I need to take a good rest. Well, if you have time, buy me some new storybooks. I'm tired of the old ones." The corner of Yun Chujio's eyes twitched. She agreed and put Meng Yanshou into her spiritual beast bag. After a while, Lan Luomu and the others woke up one after another. Yun Chuzhou explained that the reason they fainted was because of the effect of the antidote. No one doubted it. After returning to the base, Lan Dimeo found an opportunity to ask them about what happened, and Yun Chuzhou told them about the modified version. Lan Dimeo saw that they said the same thing, so he didn't ask any more questions. It was good that they could come back safely. Yun Chuzhou met Elder Tua alone again and asked with a smile, "Elder Tua, did Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan ask you for the antidote?" Elder Tua nodded. "I did as you said and gave them 2 pills as the antidote. They believed me." Previously, when Yun Chuzhou told Elder Tua about this, Elder Tua was not going to pay attention to her. But this guy used a piece of jade glass Bodhi leaf as a reward, so Elder Tua agreed. Chapter 5079. You are actually very good. Before Yun Chuzhou entered the land of God relics, she had already told Elder Tua everything that might have happened. Therefore, when Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan went to ask Elder Tua for the antidote, he had casually given them 2 pills to fool them. Yun Chuzhou told Elder Tua about her guess. After all, she was alone now, so there was no way for her to find out about Zhuang Shi's maiden family. Elder Tua's expression changed when he heard this. If this was true, then they had to get rid of the root of the problem as soon as possible. Unfortunately, due to the Earth Dragon's reversal, the voice transmission talisman could not be sent successfully. Otherwise, we could have asked the Patriarch to investigate thoroughly. Elder Tua sighed. Yun Chuzhou was stunned. It seemed that even if she wanted to ask Shui Wuji about Chi now, there was no way for her to ask. Elder Tua thought that she was worried about Zhuang Shi when he saw that she was stunned. He said, "I can't stir up any trouble for the time being. You don't have to worry." He Xingjiu saw that Elder Tua had misunderstood and immediately put on a sympathetic look. "As a member of the Lan family, I naturally have to do my best to plan for the Lan family. I can't let my guard down even if it's just a tiny bit of trouble." Elder Tua could not help but nod. Although the troublemaker was usually unfocused, he was still quite reliable at critical moments. After gaining a favorable impression, He Xingjiu asked, "Elder Tua, can't we go around somewhere else? Do we have to stay here until the Earth Dragon turns over?" Elder Tua took out a map from his storage ring and showed it to Yun Chuzhou. The Biluo mountain range is thousands of kilometers long. It's the only way back. If you want to go around it, not only will it take more time, but you'll also have to go through the 10,000-year-old swamp and the blood-cursed miasma forest. It's almost certain that you'll die, so you can only wait for the Earth Dragon to turn over. Yun Chuzhou nodded. Although cultivators were much stronger than ordinary people, they were most afraid of the swamp. In the swamp, even special ships would sometimes fall into the swamp, so they tried their best to avoid the swamp. Since they could only wait, they could only wait. However, half a month passed after that. He Xingjiu and Di Baiming mumbled, "Prince Charming, why do I feel that there will be natural disasters wherever I go? For example, the sandstorm of death in the ghost city of Tao Tai, the tide on the Flying Flower Island, and the Earth Dragon's reversal this time. Is this damn god deliberately going against me?" Seeing that Di Baiming did not say anything, Yun Chuzhou finally realized that this was an amnesiac snake. This guy could only tell her about the death sandstorm and the tens of thousands of feet tide inside. "You said that it was a coincidence once or twice, but it's always the same. Then there's a problem. Am I really so unpopular with God?" Seeing her like this, a certain honored warrior comforted her. "You're thinking too much. It might not be the case. Besides, you can always turn the situation around. This time you can definitely do it too. I believe in you." Yun Chuzhou said with tears in her eyes, "Do you really believe in me? I feel that I'm useless and useless. I can't do anything and I can't eat enough. My existence is just a joke." Seeing her like this, Di Baiming felt his heart ache. He hurriedly said, "Don't belittle yourself. Other things aside, if it wasn't for you, the Lan family would have already died in Supreme City. Furthermore, the fact that you were able to resolve Emperor Shin's scheme is enough to prove your intelligence. Therefore you are actually very, very good." Yun Chuzhou raised her head in surprise. "Is what you said true? Do you really think that I am very good?" "Yes, of course it's true," Di Baiming said with certainty. Chapter 5080. How on earth? Yun Chuzhou pursed her lips. "You're lying. If you really think so, why did you call me ugly girl?" "I'm just forget it. I won't call you ugly girl anymore. You're actually quite good looking," a certain someone said uncomfortably. That's right, I also think I'm quite good looking. You're finally not blind. Yun Chujio said with a smile. A certain someone. He looked at Hei Xingjiu, who was smiling with a smug look and gritted his teeth in anger. He had been fooled by this ugly girl again. Hei Xingjiu looked at the silver snake's vertical pupils that were filled with anger, and her smile became even happier. I told you to lose your memory. I told you to get the hell out of here. I even told you to return the money and interest. You wife slave, do you still want to overturn the heavens? Dream on. However, she really felt that God was deliberately going against her. Otherwise, why did she always run into natural disasters that happened once every 100 years or even thousands of years? How could there be such a coincidence? Just as she was thinking about it, chaos broke out in the distance. Not good. The earth dragon has turned over. Run. Quickly summon the flying spirit tool. What's going on? Why can't the flying spiritual weapon fly? The ground began to tremble. The earth chi in some of the cracks in the distance soared into the sky. Some of the people who were slower instantly turned into a bloody mist. Yin Chujio was shocked. She quickly put the small silver snake into her sleeve pocket and chased after them. Everyone looked panicked. Under such a natural disaster, anyone's strength was extremely small, and their lives were extremely fragile. They could only run and run for their lives. Behind them, cracks appeared one after another. Those who ran slower were instantly swallowed by the earth chi. This place was already a hell on earth. Everyone ran toward the east. They thought that after running for a distance they could use a flying spirit tool to escape. Who knew that not only could they not use a flying spirit tool, but the earth cracks were getting more and more serious. Everyone ran non-stop for a day and a night. In front of them was a dense forest that was as red as blood. Fortunately, at this time, the speed of the earth fissure behind them began to slow down, giving everyone a moment to catch their breath. Regardless of whether it was the elders of the 4 great aristocratic families or the juniors like Lan Luofeng, they all sat on the ground, panting heavily. It was too terrifying. They had never seen such a scene before. They had never been so close to death. Lan Luofeng cried, "Little Jiu, we are really going to die this time." Sob, I don't want to die yet. I miss my mother. Yun Chujio glared at her. Hold back your tears. Is crying useful? If it is, I will howl with you. The earth fissure hasn't spread to this place yet. Let's hurry and enter the dense forest ahead. Lan Luofeng forcefully held back her tears and said, "Little Jiu, that is the blood-cursed miasma forest ahead. Not only is there a poisonous miasma, but it is said that this is a cursed forest. Very few people can pass through it alive." Yun Chujio had already guessed this point. After all, she had seen the map at Elder Tua's place. The blood-cursed miasma forest was no different from a peaceful land to her. But what about the people from the Land family? Should she care about it or not? At this time, the leaders of the other 3 families gathered together. Mu Kelu said with a hint of pride, "Everyone, don't panic. Our Mu family is good at alchemy. Although we don't have full confidence, as long as we take our Mu family's unique antidote pill, we can at least resolve 70 to 80% of the poison miasma." Chapter 5081 The Mu Family's Detoxification Pills. As soon as Mu Kelu finished speaking, Qi Anqing of the Qi family and Zhuang Ruhai of the Zhuang family immediately complimented him. Brother Mu is right. The Mu family's alchemy skills are second to none in Towering Sky Continent. The Mu family's detoxification pills are naturally unique. If we can detoxify 70 to 80% of the poisonous miasma, then even if we inhale a small amount of the miasma, we can use our spiritual power to suppress it. We can completely pass through this blood-cursed miasma forest safely. Mu Kelu was obviously very pleased. He smiled and said, "Our 3 families share weal and woe together. Naturally, we share weal and woe together. Come, these detoxifying pills, everyone distribute them." Qi Anqing and Zhuang Ruhai thanked him profusely. They immediately distributed the pills to their own juniors and guards. Everyone from the Lan family stared at Lan Dimeo and Elder Tua. Lan Dimeo had no choice but to brace himself and come to see Mu Kelu. He cupped his hands and said, "Brother Mu, can you give the Lan family some detoxification pills?" Mu Kelu said with a fake smile, "I'm sorry. I have a limited number of detoxification pills with me, so I don't have any extra to give to the Lan family. I'm really sorry." Lan Dimeo naturally didn't believe him. He said shamelessly, "Brother Mu, the Lan family doesn't want them for nothing. As long as you give us a price, we'll buy them with money." Sigh. "Brother Dimeo, I can understand your feelings, but I really don't have that many detoxifying pills. Forgive me for being unable to do anything. Although Mukila's words were polite, his expression was very arrogant and proud. It was obvious that he had many detoxifying pills on him, but he did not want to give them to the Lan family. He would not sell them no matter how much money he had. Qianqing and Zhuang Ruhai also had a fake smile on their faces. It was really the help of God. This time they did not need to make a move. The people of the Lan family were all going to be wiped out. They were certain that Lan Dimeo and the others wouldn't dare to rob them. After all, there was a huge difference in strength between the two sides. If the Lan family made a move, they would be courting death. The three families were all gloating, especially Qi Tianhui and the others. They gathered together and mocked. Do you think you can buy anything just because you have money? How naive. The Mu family just won't sell. Some people are going to die of anger. TSK, I heard that people who are poisoned by the miasma are in great pain before they die. Their skin and flesh will fester inch by inch until they die. Yeah, I also heard that the antidotes sold in the world have no effect on the miasma at all. Moreover, they might even accelerate the poisoning. This blood curse miasma forest not only has the miasma but also the blood curse. The Lan family is dead for sure. Lan Dimeo's face was livid with anger, but he did not dare to shed all pretense of cordiality. He could only return to the Lan family's side in a huff. The Lan family's faces were also very ugly. Lan Luohan and Lan Luoshan looked at each other and finally gritted their teeth. The two of them actually walked directly to Zhuang Ruhai. Zhuang Ruhai first looked at Lan Dimeo with a sneer, then gave the two of them 2 detoxification pills and let them join the Zhuang family's team. Lan Dimeo could not believe his eyes. He was stunned for a moment and shouted, Luohan, Luoshan, what are you doing? Lan Luoshan said softly, Grandfather, even ants are greedy for life. We have no choice. The Lan family currently has no way to protect us. We naturally have to rely on the more powerful Zhuang family. After all, our maternal family is also a member of the Zhuang family. Lan Dimeo was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He pointed at Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan with a trembling finger. Evil beast. Evil beast. Hurry up and get back here. Chapter 5082 is waiting for me to return. Lan Lushan's smile became even more gentle. Grandfather, anger will hurt your body. Please calm down. Haven't you always been biased towards that bitch Yunchujio? You will be able to die together with her soon, so it can be considered as fulfilling your wish. As for the 3 sons of the Lan family, you don't have to worry. Once you die, my father will become the leader of the 3 sons, and he will definitely be better than before. Lan Dimeo's head was buzzing with anger. If it was not for his profound cultivation, he would have fainted from anger. Zhuang Ruhai saw this and said with a fake smile, That's right, brother Dimeo. A good bird chooses the tree to roost in. The 2 children were originally from the Zhuang family. What's wrong with joining our Zhuang family now? You should think about how your Lan family will pass through this blood-cursed miasma forest safely. Lan Dimeo was so angry that he could not utter a single word. All he could do was tremble. He never thought that his own grandson and granddaughter would do such a heartless thing. He had placed high hopes on Lan Luohan, but who would have thought that she was an ingrate? At this moment, Yun Chujio laughed lightly and said, The Zhuang family is really good. They actually managed to incite Uncle's family without making a sound. From the looks of it, the Zhuang family is more scheming than the Mu family and the Qi family. I think that sooner or later, the power of the 4 great aristocratic families will fall into the hands of the Zhuang family. Lan Dimeo was already angry to begin with. When he heard Yun Chujio's words, he could not help but become even angrier. Wasn't this troublemaker trying to add salt to his wound? However, when he saw the slight change in Mu Kelu and Qiancheng's expressions, his heart moved. He understood that Yun Chujio was trying to drive a wedge between the 3 families. However, it was also true. The Zhuang family's move was obviously carried out behind the other 2 families' backs. With the troublemaker's words, even if the 3 families maintained peace on the surface, it was only a matter of time before a dog-eat-dog fight broke out. Zhuang Ruhai also realized this and quickly said to Qianqing and Zhuang Ruhai, Both of you don't be incited by that darn girl's words. Since the matter hasn't been settled yet, our Zhuang family didn't greet the 2 of you. Although Mu Kelu and Mu Qianqing were displeased, the 3 families were now in the same boat, so they could only make a few perfunctory remarks. Zhuang Ruhai quickly changed the topic. Both of you, if we delay, something will happen. The earth fissure will soon spread over. Why don't we enter the blood-cursed miasma forest now? Mu Kelu and Qi Anqing nodded and immediately led their subordinates into the blood-cursed miasma forest. Before entering, Mu Kelu and the others even said provocatively to Lan Dimeo, "Brother Dimeo, take care. I hope we can meet again." Lan Dimeo was half dead from anger, but there was nothing he could do. The members of the Lan family, whether it was Lan Luofeng and the others or the guards, all hung their heads dejectedly. It was over. They were dead for sure. Even if they were not swallowed by the earth chi, they would still be poisoned to death. There was no way for them to survive. Old Tua's expression was also very cold. His cultivation was profound, so he might be able to use his spiritual power to suppress the poisonous miasma. But what about the others? At this moment, Yun Chujio quickly jumped into the blood-cursed miasma forest. "Wait for me to come back." Everyone was dumbfounded. What did she mean? Was she going to die? Could she come back? However, a glimmer of hope rose in the hearts of Lan Luofeng and the others. In the Supreme City, little Jiao had brought them to escape death time and time again. Perhaps this time she could also do it. Time became exceptionally long. The ground began to tremble slightly. It was likely that in less than 2 hours the cracks would spread to this place. Lan Dimeo gritted his teeth. Just as he was about to order everyone to forcefully enter the blood-cursed miasma forest, Yun Chujio hopped back. Chapter 5083. I will refine pills for you now. When everyone saw that Yun Chujio had returned safely, they could not help but feel a little hopeful. She had not been poisoned to death by the poisonous miasma. Did this mean that she had an antidote? Did this mean that they were saved? "Little Jiao, do you have an antidote?" Lan Dimeo asked with a slight tremble. Yun Chujio nodded. "Yes." Lan Dimeo almost cried when he heard that. He hurriedly said, "God bless. God bless." "Little ninth girl, since that's the case, hurry up and distribute the pills to everyone. You've made a great contribution this time, Uncle will not mistreat you." Yun Chujio took out the pill furnace and said, "Uncle, I only have one antidote. I ate it myself just now. They'll refine it for you now. Don't be anxious." Lan Dimeo almost died from anger. Refine it now? Was this troublemaker playing with them? If this antidote pill was really so easy to refine, would there be no sale in the world? Would the Mu family be so arrogant? Moreover, even if this troublemaker really knew how to refine the antidote pill, where would she get so many herbs in such a short time? Moreover, there was no time. The higher the grade of the pill, the longer the refining time needed. It would take at least an hour to refine a batch of pills. Under the premise that the pill success rate was 60%, there were 6 pills in a batch and only 12 pills in 2 batches. Moreover, the Lan family and the guards had a total of 400 people. No matter what, it was not enough. Lan Dimeo was panting heavily. "Yun Chujio, now is not the time to joke. Tell me the truth. Do you still have any detoxification pills on you?" Yun Chujio said while she was busy, "No, don't worry. I can refine pills very quickly. At most, everyone can divide a pill into 6 portions and hold on for a while. When we enter the forest, I will refine some more." When Yun Chujio said this, Lan Dimeo and the others wanted to strangle her to death. Divide a pill into 6 portions? Did you think that the pill was a big steamed bun? A single detoxification pill was only able to block 70 to 80% of the poisonous miasma. If it was divided into 6 portions, would it still be effective? Lan Dimeo saw Yun Chujio stuffing a bunch of herbs into the pill furnace one after another, and he felt that this troublemaker was playing tricks. Even if he wasn't an alchemist, he knew that there was a sequence for placing the herbs. Yet she didn't care and just stuffed all the herbs into the alchemy furnace. This wasn't refining pills, this was making porridge. Lan Dimeo saw that the ground was trembling more violently and decided to lead everyone directly into the blood-cursed miasma forest. Although there was a poisonous miasma inside, it might not be as powerful as the legend said. However, after he said his decision, Lan Luofeng said weakly, "Grandfather, I believe in little Jiao. They'll stay and wait for her pills." "Third elder, I also believe in little Jiao. They'll stay too," Lan Luoyen said. "And me? Me too. They'll stay too." Lan Dimeo looked at Lan Luoyen and the others and felt that these children were most likely crazy. Did they really believe that this troublemaker could refine an antidote? Elder Tua sighed at the side. "I also believe in little Jiao. Let's wait a little longer." Lan Dimeo, a bunch of lunatics. He had no choice. Everyone was willing to believe in Yun Chujio, so he could only compromise. He wanted to see if this troublemaker could refine a detoxifying pill that was divided into 6 parts. Chapter 5084 Detoxification Pill divided into 6. Just as Lan Dimeo was thinking about it, the fragrance of medicinal herbs spread out from the alchemy furnace. Lan Dimeo was stunned. Those medicinal herbs had fused into the medicinal juice so quickly? Normally, wouldn't it take 15 minutes to fuse into the medicinal juice? How did she do it? Lan Dimeo was faintly looking forward to it. Perhaps this troublemaker really knew how to refine pills. Even if she couldn't refine a detoxification pill divided into 6, she could refine a few. At least she could save the Lan family's lives. At this moment, Lan Dimeo saw Yun Chujio lift the lid of the pill furnace and throw a few medicinal herbs into it. Lan Dimeo almost spat out a mouthful of blood. It seemed that he was overthinking. This troublemaker didn't know how to refine pills at all. Who didn't know that lifting the lid of the pill furnace was a big taboo when refining pills? He said that he couldn't believe this troublemaker. She was simply spouting nonsense. At this moment, the trembling of the ground became even more obvious. Lan Dimeo shouted sternly, "She doesn't know how to refine pills at all. Hurry up and follow me in. Otherwise, once the earth cracks spread over, she will definitely die." However, neither Lan Luoyen and the others nor old Tua moved. Lan Dimeo was so angry that he almost fainted. What kind of bewitching potion did this troublemaker give these people? Why were all of them so confident in her? There was nothing he could do. These people did not move, and Lan Dimeo could not leave alone with his guards. He could only blow his beard and stare at them. He had already thought that if Yun Chujio's pill refinement failed, he would directly carry her into the blood-cursed miasma forest to prevent her from causing any more trouble. At this moment, Yun Chujio opened the lid of the pill furnace again, and immediately, a rich medicinal fragrance spread out. Lan Dimeo widened his eyes and stretched his neck to look into the pill furnace. There were 10 round Yuan Gun pills in the pill furnace. Moreover, there were circles of pill patterns on them. Lan Dimeo rubbed his eyes and tugged at his beard. He grimaced in pain. Was he dreaming? How was this possible? A 100% success rate? And they were all supreme-grade pills? And it only took half an hour? Oh my god. If any of these were to be revealed, it would be a jaw-dropping event. Yun Chujio took out the pill and wanted to pass it to Lan Dimeo. Seeing that he looked as if he had seen a ghost, she could only pass the pill to Elder Tua. Elder Tua, divide one pill into 6 portions and distribute it. I'll continue refining. Before the earth fissure spreads over, I should be able to refine 6 more batches. Although Elder Tua was also very shocked, he was much better than Lan Dimeo. He immediately nodded and agreed. Yun Chujio continued to refine pills. Actually, if she used the Heaven and Earth Universal Furnace, it would be easier to refine. Moreover, she could refine heaven-grade pills. However, possessing wealth was a sin. She didn't want to take the risk. Most importantly, even if she used an ordinary pill refining furnace, she could still refine pills that could detoxify the poison. There was no need to take the risk. Lan Dimeo finally regained his senses. However, he was still a little worried. Could this pill that was refined from the essence that caused trouble really resist the poison miasma? He thought for a moment and asked for a pill from Elder Tua. After swallowing it, he immediately went to the edge of the blood-cursed poison miasma forest. He was surprised to find that the poison miasma really did not affect him at all. How was this possible? Even the Mu family's exclusive detoxification pill could only resist 70 to 80% of the miasma, and the rest of it had to be suppressed by the spiritual power in his body. However, the pill refined from trouble could still resist all the miasma after it was divided into 6 parts. Chapter 5085 Your lesson is. Lan Dimeo was stunned for a while. For a moment he could not digest it. In that case, wasn't the pill concocting skill of the troublemaker even better than the elders of the Mu family? However, he quickly refuted this conclusion. He estimated that the troublemaker was most likely more proficient in concocting this kind of pill. After all, she was still young. How could she be better than the elders of the Mu family? Yes, that must be the case. Thinking about it, the shock in his heart was not that great. However, no matter what, it was a great thing that the troublemaker could refine the antidote pill. He could imagine how shocked the people of the Mu family would be when they saw them pass through the blood-cursed miasma forest safely. When Lan Dimeo thought of this, he recalled the betrayal of Lan Luohan and Lan Luoshan. His heart was filled with hatred, anger, and deep disappointment. He truly wanted to nurture Lan Luohan. Most of the cultivation resources of the 3 branches had been given to Lan Luohan. Who would have thought that he would raise an ingrate? It was not even as good as the troublemaker he found halfway. Lan Dimeo returned to his original spot with a complicated feeling. At this moment, Yun Chujio was already refining the fourth batch of detoxification pills. However, the trembling of the ground was getting stronger and stronger. From afar, one could even see the earth chi soaring into the sky. Yun Chujio frowned. There was not enough time. She gritted her teeth and took out another alchemy furnace. She was prepared to concoct 2 furnaces at the same time. This way she would have more time. This was her first time trying. However, this fellow felt that since he could draw talismans with both his hands, it should not be difficult for him to concoct pills at the same time. If it did not work, she could only take out the heaven and earth furnace. Everyone present was dumbfounded. Oh God! Were they seeing things? This troublemaker actually wanted to refine 2 pill furnaces at the same time. What kind of joke was this? This was simply unheard of. One had to know that refining pills required extreme concentration. There couldn't be the slightest bit of distraction. 2 pill furnaces? This was simply a joke. Lan Dimeo was so angry that he was twitching. If he was not afraid of disturbing Yun Chujio, he would have scolded her. Was he stupid? Was he stupid? Did he not know that haste makes waste? If that was the case, the 2 furnaces of pills would probably be nullified. This troublemaker was really out of tune. The others also shook their heads. This troublemaker was usually quite smart. Why was he being a fool today? However, after a while, the crowd did not smell the burnt smell that they had expected. Moreover, there was already a medicinal fragrance coming from it. Could it really be a success? Everyone's gaze fell on the 2 pill furnaces. Their hearts were in their throats. They vaguely felt that a miracle was about to happen. Finally, Yun Chujio took a deep breath and opened the lid of the 2 pill furnaces. Then, a disappointed expression appeared on her face. When the crowd saw this, they were instantly discouraged. Just as they had said, this didn't work. This troublemaker insisted on doing this. Now they had wasted half an hour in vain. Lan Dimeo angrily shouted, "You just have to refine it step by step. Why do you have to do such a thing? Refining 2 furnaces of pills at the same time is simply wishful thinking. Why don't you go to heaven? Have you failed now? You became impetuous after a little achievement, now you have learned your lesson, right?" Yun Chujio nodded obediently. "Great uncle, what you taught me is right, I will pay attention next time." "Well, you can share the pills inside with everyone." "Share what? What did you say?" Lan Dimeo couldn't react for a moment. What did he mean? Chapter 5086 entered the blood-cursed miasma forest. Yun Chujio sighed. "Sai, this is the first time I've concocted pills like this, so the success rate is too low. The furnace on the left only has an 80% success rate. Looks like you'll have to be careful and practice well in the future." Lan Dimeo looked into the 2 pill furnaces in a daze. He saw that one of the pill furnaces contained 10 detoxifying pills, while the other furnace contained, weren't these also 10 detoxification pills? The first thought that came to Lan Dimeo's mind was, the troublemaker didn't know how to count? However, he quickly reacted. Although there were 10 detoxification pills in the pill furnace, 8 of them were transcendent grade pills, and the other 2 were upper grade pills. Was this the low pill success rate mentioned by the troublemaker? Could it be that the upper grade pills were considered a failure in her hands? Yun Chujio found it funny when she saw Lan Dimeo's dull expression. She could only pass the pills to old Tua and said, "Those 2 upper grade pills are much less effective. Let's split them into 2. Although old Tua was also very shocked, he was much calmer than Lan Dimeo. He nodded, indicating that Yun Chujio could continue to refine pills. He felt that it was understandable that Yun Chujio could refine 2 cauldrons of pills at the same time. After all, this troublemaker could command 9 immortal swords at the same time. It showed that her spiritual sense was very strong, so she could refine 2 cauldrons of pills at the same time. It was normal, right? Yun Chujio refined 2 cauldrons of pills. At this time, the earth chi was getting closer and closer. Yun Chujio asked someone to distribute the pills and said, "The detoxification pills that you have consumed can last for a day. After entering the blood-cursed miasma forest, I will find an opportunity to refine the detoxification pills again, so everyone need not worry." Everyone immediately nodded their heads in gratitude and agreed. At this time, in their eyes, the troublemaker had become a living bodhisattva who saved the suffering and saved the suffering. Naturally, she was obedient. However, Yun Chujio was pondering in her heart. Although she could control 2 alchemy cauldrons after becoming proficient, the efficiency of this was still too low. If she stuffed many ingredients into a large alchemy furnace, would she be able to refine many pills in one furnace? The more she thought about it, the more excited she became. If there was a chance, she could try using the heaven and earth furnace. If she succeeded, refining pills in the future would be much easier. She could avoid refining one furnace after another. It would be too fucking torturous. Lan Dimeo coughed dryly and felt a little embarrassed. He wanted to say something but didn't know what to say. After all, he had taught Yun Chujio a lesson previously. Fortunately, Elder Tua said, "The earth chi will soon spread to this place. Everyone enter the blood curse miasma forest." Everyone immediately entered the blood curse forest. The trees growing in the blood curse forest were all scarlet like blood. Even the weeds on the ground were red. It made people unconsciously feel a sense of fear. It was as if everything here was made of blood, and it was very terrifying. At this moment, everyone couldn't care much because the earth chi was far more terrifying than the blood curse miasma forest. Moreover, the blood curse was only a legend and it might not really be that terrifying. Everyone moved quickly along the way, and they didn't encounter any demon beasts. In addition, the detoxification pill that Yun Chujio refined was quite effective, so everyone felt a little more at ease. During this period, Lan Dimeo leaped onto the treetop and looked into the distance. Although the earth aura had already spread to the blood curse miasma forest, it did not spread very quickly. After reaching a safe distance, Yun Chujio began to refine pills again. When they found that the earth aura was close, the group would continue on their journey. This way they were safe and sound. Chapter 5087, Blood Curse. The Mu family had set off 2 hours earlier, and the Lan family had stopped to wait for Yun Chujio to refine the medicine. As a result, they were 100 li ahead of the Bai Li family. Since the Mu family's detoxification pill could only resist 70 to 80% of the poisonous miasma, and they needed to use a portion of their spiritual power to suppress the poisonous gas that surged into their bodies, everyone's expressions were not very relaxed. However, when they thought that the Lan family members should have been poisoned to death by the poisonous miasma, Mu Kelu, Qianqing, and Zhuang Ruhai all felt very proud. Especially Mu Kelu. Before he came to the divine relic trial, he had brought many detoxification pills just in case. He did not expect that they would come in great use now. He felt that he had a divine plan. The two of you, the members of the Lan family, must have already died. Once that hunchback in Lan Dimeo died, the Lan family suffered heavy losses. This is simply like adding wings to a tiger for our next step, Mu Kelu said proudly. Qianqing and Zhuang Ruhai now had a request from Mu Kelu. After all, they had to rely on the antidote pills that he distributed every day. Therefore they fawned over him. It's all thanks to Brother Mu's antidote pills. Otherwise, our two families would end up like the Lan family. Mu Kelu became even more smug when he heard that. However, he still said hypocritically, "It's only right for our three families to stand together through thick and thin." Qianqing and Zhuang Ruhai flattered him a little more before Zhuang Ruhai said, "This blood curse miasma forest covers a large area. It's said that the miasma gets thicker the deeper we go into it. There's also a legend about the blood curse. We should be more careful. We can use our spiritual power to suppress the remaining poisonous gas. However, it's said that this blood curse is very strange. I'm really not sure." Mu Kelu also said with some worry. Qianqing said nonchalantly, "The blood curse is just a legend. Maybe it's an illusion after a person is poisoned. Besides, we have so many people. Even if there is a so-called blood curse, we are not afraid." Mu Kelu and Zhuang Ruhai thought about it. It made sense. Their three families had more than 1,000 people. Even if they encountered a blood curse, it should not be a problem. At this moment, they heard a shrill scream. The three of them were shocked and quickly rushed towards the source of the scream. At this moment, the place was already in chaos. Someone shouted in fear, "Blood curse. It must be a blood curse. This blood curse miasma forest has been cursed by someone. It's really a blood curse. Too scary. We can't get out. We're definitely going to die here." With someone shouting like this, panic spread quickly and everyone was in a mess. Zhuang Ruhai shouted, "Shut up. If anyone talks nonsense again, kill them without mercy." Everyone didn't dare to speak anymore, but their faces were full of panic and fear. Zhuang Ruhai and the other two frowned and looked at the location of the incident. There was only a pool of blood on the ground, and it was quickly seeping into the ground. A moment later, there was only a storage ring left on the ground as if nothing had happened. What on earth is going on? Zhuang Ruhai looked at the people around him. A witness described the process. The guard who died just now suddenly screamed, and his body instantly turned into blood. Hearing this, everyone was even more terrified. Without any warning he had turned into blood. If this was not a blood curse, then what was it? Mu Kelu and the other two's expressions also became cold. Zhuang Ruhai immediately said, "Whether it's a blood curse or not, this place is very dangerous. Hurry up and leave this place." Chapter 5088 was just retribution. Everyone was already scared out of their wits, so after hearing Zhuang Ruhai's words, they could not wait to leave. However, the nightmare had begun. Every once in a while there would be screams, and from time to time the guards would turn into blood for no reason. No one knew who would die next, and this unknown danger made everyone's hair stand on end. Everyone did not dare to rest for even a second. They only hoped to leave the blood-cursed miasma forest as soon as possible. It was too terrifying. However, they still had to divert their spiritual power to suppress the miasma poison in their bodies. Their speed would inevitably be affected. No matter how anxious they were, it was impossible for them to leave the blood-cursed miasma forest in a short period of time. As time passed, over 100 people had already turned into blood. Everyone's hearts became even more fearful. Just as they were feeling anxious and uneasy, the members of the Lan family caught up. This was not strange. The members of the Lan family did not need to allocate a portion of their spiritual power to resist the miasma poison. In addition, Yun Chujio had already refined enough detoxifying pills, so they did not need to waste time refining pills. Thus they caught up. Mu Kelu and the others looked as if they had seen a ghost when they saw the members of the Lan family. They didn't die? How was this possible? You didn't die? Mu Kelu blurted out. After saying that, he felt that something wasn't right and said, "Brother Dimeo, it's great that you guys are okay. Where did you get the antidote pills?" Lan Dimeo saw his surprised expression and was very relieved. However, seeing that their number seemed to be a little lower, he couldn't help but wonder, could it be that those people were poisoned to death? Lan Dimeo did not want to bother with him at first, but after thinking for a while he said, "I bought some detoxifying pills from somewhere else. I thought it would be useless, but I didn't expect it to be so effective." Mu Kelu's eyes sparkled. He did not quite believe it. Only the Mu family had detoxifying pills for the poisonous miasma. Where did Lan Dimeo get them? Just as he was about to probe again, Zhuang Ruhai said first, "That's great. Then the four of us can advance and retreat together so that we can take care of each other." Lan Dimeo thought about it and did not refuse. "It's better to follow your orders. Then let's go together." Yun Chujio's eyes flashed, but she did not say anything. Mu Kelu frowned and found an opportunity to ask Zhuang Ruhai, "Brother Zhuang, what do you mean by this? I took a rough look just now and found that the Lan family has no fewer people, which means that they are not affected by the blood curse. There must be something going on here," Zhuang Ruhai said. "Is that so? Why is it like this? But it's also possible that they were behind us so they weren't affected," Mu Kelu guessed. "I don't know. Let's wait and see. Anyway, they have fewer people than us, so we're not afraid of them overturning the sky," Zhuang Ruhai said coldly. At this moment, a scream was heard and another guard turned into blood under the watchful eyes of the crowd. This was the first time the Lan family members saw such a situation. They were all frightened. What was going on? Lan Luofeng leaned over to Yun Chujio's side and said weakly, "Little Jiu, what is going on? We have never encountered such a situation before." Yun Chujio did not reply. Instead, she walked to the vicinity of the blood to take a look. The Mu family members felt that Yun Chujio was most likely mentally ill. She was so close. Wasn't she afraid that the blood curse would spread to her body? Yun Chujio squatted and looked for a while. Then she returned to the team expressionlessly. Lan Luofeng quickly came over. "Little Jiu, did you find out what happened?" Yun Chujio curled her lips. "It's nothing. It's just retribution." Yun Chujio's voice was not soft, so many people heard her. The Mu family and the others were naturally furious. This bitch's words were really too harsh. What was karma? They didn't do anything right. Mu Zian said with a very unfriendly expression, "Yun Chujio, what do you mean by this?" Yun Chujio shrugged her shoulders. "It's a literal meaning. Also, I'm having a private conversation with Sister Luofeng. Why did you interrupt? Could it be that you have a hobby of prying into other people's privacy?" Mu Zian was so angry that her face turned red. Private conversation? How could such a loud voice be called private conversation? Yun Chujio did not wait for Mu Zian to say anything. She said to Lan Dimeo, "Uncle, grandfather, we're walking too slowly now. Let's speed up." Lan Dimeo frowned. He understood what Yin Chuzhou meant. She was planning to separate from the Mu family. Alpha Delta Theta Nu Epsilon. Just as he was hesitating, Yun Chuzhou said to Lan Luoyin and the rest as well as the guards behind her, "Follow me." Then Lan Dimeo was stunned to see that both Lan Luoyin and the guards did not even look at him. They all followed Yun Chuzhou and ran, quickly. Lan Dimeo's face stiffened. He was the leader, all right? Why did he listen to that troublemaker's orders now? Elder Tua said in a deep voice, "Let's go." Lan Dimeo finally had some comfort in his heart. At least Elder Tua was still on his side. However, old Tua continued, "If you don't leave, you can stay here by yourself." Lan Dimeo had no choice but to clench his teeth and quickly chase after him. Roelfa Dialpha and Nu Amu Kelu and the others were puzzled at first, but then they showed an incredulous expression. Because they found that the Lan family members were extremely fast and soon disappeared from their sight. They are actually moving at full speed. They didn't even split their spiritual power to suppress the miasma poison, Qi Anqing said in disbelief. Mu Kelu was also stunned, and then he snorted coldly. It seems that they were scared out of their wits by the blood curse, so they didn't care about it and rushed at full speed. Humph, that's good too. They are in front of us. Maybe the focus of the blood curse's attack will shift to them. When everyone heard this, they felt that what he said made sense. The Lan family members had really gone crazy. However, in the next few days, there were still people from the Mu family who continued to turn into blood. Moreover, the situation was getting more and more serious. The only thing that made Mu Kelu and the others feel relieved was that there were no casualties among Mu Zian and the others. Most of the dead were guards. On this day, someone finally discovered some clues. There were some small holes where the dead had turned into blood. Could it be that the so-called blood curse was related to these holes? Mu Kelu and the other two gritted their teeth and ordered their subordinates to open up the spiritual energy barrier below. In the end, they found an ant nest filled with tiny red ants. The ant was very small, only the size of a needle tip. If one did not look closely, one would not be able to find it. Someone threw out the corpse of a demonic beast. After the ant climbed up, the corpse instantly turned into blood. Everyone finally understood that it was not a blood curse. It was all done by this tiny ant. Then the question came. Why did these ants attack them instead of attacking the Lan family? Moreover, they did not attack Mu Kelu and the others. Instead, they chose some guards. Chapter 5090. No matter how hard they thought about it, they could not figure it out. However, when they found the culprit, the fear in their hearts was greatly reduced. As for the method of defense, it was simple. They only needed to waste some spiritual energy to set up a spiritual energy shield below the knees, and they could avoid being attacked by those tiny ants again. However, in this way they moved even slower. On this day, Zhuang Ruhai suddenly thought of a possibility. He said to Mu Kelu and Qi Anqing, "If my hypothesis is correct, then it can explain why those ants didn't attack the Lan family." Mu Kelu and Qi Anqing asked curiously, "What hypothesis?" "The detoxification pill they took can completely resist the miasma poison," Zhuang Ruhai said. Mu Kelu curled his lips when he heard that. "Impossible. The secret detoxification pill of our Mu family can only resist 70 to 80% of the miasma poison. How can their detoxification pill do that?" Zhuang Ruhai said non-committally, "If that's not the case, then why did they catch up to us when they were clearly behind us earlier? Why could they travel at full speed and leave us behind later? If they were taking the risk, we would have seen their bodies long ago." Mu Kelu was stunned, but he still felt that it was impossible. Qi Anqing asked from the side, "Even if the hypothesis you said is true, what does it have to do with the ants? If my guess is correct, those ants will only attack those who are poisoned. We weren't attacked in the first few days because we had just entered the blood curse miasma forest. The miasma poison accumulated in our bodies wasn't much, so we didn't attract the ants' attacks." Mu Kelu said unwillingly, "Then why didn't the ants attack us in purple smoke?" "It's very simple. Because the number of detoxification pills we took was more than those guards, and the grade was also higher than theirs, so the poison accumulated in our bodies was much less. As for the Lan family, because their detoxifying pills can completely resist the poison, they will naturally not be attacked by ants," Zhuang Ruhai explained. After a moment of silence, Qi Anqing said, "I think Brother Zhuang's guess is reasonable. But where did the Lan family get the detoxifying pills? They are actually more powerful than the Mu family's detoxifying pills?" No wonder Yun Chuzhou said that it was retribution. It turns out that she was mocking Brother Mu for not selling them the detoxifying pills. Mu Keel's expression turned ugly when he heard that. Zhuang Ruhai quickly said, "The Lan family and the Zen sect have a close relationship. Maybe the Zen sect gave it to them. There's no need for the two of you to dwell on this matter. Since we have already found the reason, we will be able to pass through the blood-cursed miasma forest very soon. As for the rest of the matter, we will take a long time to think about it." Qianqing also realized that he had said something wrong and quickly added, "Brother Zhuang is right. Brother Mu, I don't know how to speak. Don't take it to heart. After we are completely out of danger, just kill those people from the Lan family." Although Mu Kelu was still not very happy, he could not say anything, so he could only say a few words perfunctorily. 3 days later, Mu Kelu and the others finally walked out of the blood-cursed miasma forest. After a simple repair and forcing out the miasma poison in their bodies, they continued to move forward. They had no choice. The earth chi behind them was constantly spreading, so they had no choice but to leave. Zhuang Ruhai took out the map and looked at it. He said in a low voice, "Another 300 li and we will reach the 10,000-year-old swamp, which is 10,000 times scarier than the blood-cursed miasma forest. Do you have any good ideas?" Bai Li asked. Mu Kelu smiled. "Brother Zhuang, have you forgotten what the Qi family is good at?" Chapter 5091 Swamp Boat. Zhuang Ruhai was stunned at first, then laughed out loud. "Yes, I forgot. The Qi family's equipment shop is all over the Heavy Cloud continent. Naturally, they have the equipment needed to cross the swamp. But I wonder if Brother Qi has these with you?" Not only did the Qi family deal in all kinds of spiritual equipment, but they also had many refiners. Although they could not compare to the Qing family of the Valley of Fog, they were still much stronger than the other three families. Hearing their words, Qianqing felt somewhat proud, but he still said, "I do have a few swamp ships here, but you also know that the 10,000-year-old swamp is different from ordinary swamps. To be honest, I'm not too sure about it either." Mu Kelu and Zhuang Ruhai knew that he was right. The 10,000-year-old swamp had always been a place of death and no return. Even the border areas were full of dangers. It was better not to go in if possible. "How about this? We'll see when the time comes. Maybe when the Earth Dragon turns over, we won't be able to say anything," Zhuang Ruhai said. The group quickly arrived at the periphery of the 10,000-year-old swamp. As expected, they met the members of the Lan family. The two sides were on guard against each other. Since the situation was unknown and neither of them wanted to use up their strength, it was still acceptable on the surface. After a few simple pleasantries, Zhuang Ruhai probed, "Brother Dimeo, where did you get the antidote pill in your hand? Could it be the Zen sect?" Of course, Lan Dimeo would not stupidly reveal the fact that Yunchuju knew how to refine pills. He smiled non-committally and did not say anything. Zhuang Ruhai and the other two saw the situation and thought that he had tacitly agreed. They secretly hated in their hearts. This Zen sect had never been involved in worldly affairs, so how could they be so close to the Lan family recently? In the next 2 days, everyone realized that the earth chi did not spread over. They were all relieved. After all, no one wanted to enter the 10,000-year-old swamp. However, on the morning of the 3rd day, everyone was horrified to find that the earth chi was actually spreading over here, and it was spreading very quickly. Mu Kelu and the others discussed. Now they could only enter the 10,000-year-old swamp. At least they had a chance of survival. Immediately, Qianqing took out 4 swamp boats. Lan Dimeo thought to himself that this Qianqing was more particular than Mu Kelu. Since he took out 4 boats, did it mean that he was going to lend one to the Lan family? However, he soon realized that he was overthinking. Mu Kelu, Qianqing, and Zhuang Ruhai brought the juniors of each family onto one of the swamp boats. The guards of the 3 families each boarded a swamp boat. The Lan family had no share at all. Lan Dimeo had no choice but to bite the bullet and ask, "Brother Qi, can you lend us a swamp boat?" Qianqing put on a fake smile and said, "Brother Dimeo, as you can see, our people can barely sit down. We really can't let you on." In fact, there were many empty seats on the 4 swamp boats. If they squeezed together, they could let the Lan family on. Moreover, Qianqing still had 3 swamp boats. Lan Dimeo knew that it was useless to say more, so he decided not to say anything. He wanted to snatch the boat, but he had no chance of winning. In fact, there was an ordinary boat in his storage ring, but a swamp boat was different from an ordinary boat. An ordinary boat had a certain depth of draft, while a swamp boat was almost completely floating on the surface of the water. An ordinary boat could easily sink into the swamp below the surface of the swamp, and then they would definitely die. At this moment, Qianqing suddenly said, "Brother Dimeo, we have some friendship. I can't just stand by and do nothing. How about this? They'll give you 5 quotas and allow 5 of you to board the boat. As for who these 5 quotas are for, you can decide for yourself. Chapter 5092, Whirlpool. Lan Dimeo could not help but fly into a rage when he heard Qiancheng's words. Qi, if you don't want to borrow it, then don't borrow it. You should never have such malicious thoughts. Are you planning to sow discord between our Lan family and watch the show? This is really outrageous. Qiancheng was not angry even though his thoughts were exposed. He said with a fake smile, Brother Dimeo, this is your fault. I was being kind. Since you don't appreciate my kindness, then forget it. After Qiancheng said that, he commanded the 4 swamp ships to leave. Lan Dimeo was so angry that he gritted his teeth, but there was nothing he could do. He directly summoned the big ship from his storage ring. Although he knew that ordinary ships would not work in the swamp, at least it was better than nothing. Just as he was about to command everyone to board the ship, he heard Yun Chujio say, Uncle, Grandpa, your ship looks good, but I'm afraid it won't work in the swamp. Lan Dimeo said snappily, Of course I know it won't work, but it's still better than nothing. Don't tell me you have a swamp ship? If you give me this ship, he'll make a few swamp ships for you, Yun Chujio said with a smile. Lan Dimeo almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This troublemaker was so greedy that he even made flowers out of greed. However, saving his life was more important now. He gritted his teeth. Do you really have a swamp boat? Of course. It's just that my swamp boat was bought in the sky-high continent. It's definitely not as good as the Qi family's, but it's still better than your ordinary boat. This fellow cherished her life. In addition, she was not short of money, so she had prepared everything she could. It was just that after she arrived at the heavy cloud continent, she had never had the chance to go out for a walk. Otherwise, she would definitely have prepared more things. Lan Dimeo did not have the mood to be picky now. As long as it was a swamp ship, it would be fine. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and used his large ship to exchange for 3 swamp ships. Yun Chujio's swamp ship was much smaller than the Qi family's. Therefore, the Lan family members took 3 ships to sit down. At this moment, the Earth aura was getting closer and closer. Everyone immediately activated the swamp ship and headed towards the depths of the 10,000-year-old swamp. At this moment, they were at the periphery of the 10,000-year-old swamp. It did not look as terrifying as the rumors said. Although there were some demonic beasts that occasionally showed their heads, they were intimidated by everyone's aura and tactfully did not come over to attack. Everyone's mood also relaxed slightly. Lan Luoyan said, It seems that this rumor cannot be trusted. This 10,000-year-old swamp looks no different from an ordinary swamp. Moreover, the water surface seems to be much calmer than the ordinary swamp. Could it be that everyone is spreading rumors? Lan Dimeo said coldly, Don't take it lightly. The 10,000-year-old swamp is definitely not as simple as it looks. Moreover, this is only the periphery of the 10,000-year-old swamp. The deeper you go in, the more dangerous it is. Lan Luoyan shrunk her neck. Although she did not say anything, she did not think much of it in her heart. She felt that Lan Dimeo was exaggerating. However, she soon realized that Lan Dimeo wasn't exaggerating. Because she saw the Qi family's 4 ships spinning in the same place from afar. They couldn't go any further. Lan Dimeo didn't know what was going on ahead. He wanted to stop moving, but the Earth Qi was less than 10 miles away from the 10,000-year-old swamp. He could only grit his teeth and order the ships to continue moving forward. As they got closer, they realized that the Qi family's 4 ships had strangely fallen into the whirlpool. That was why they had been spinning on the spot. To be precise, they had not been spinning on the spot. They had only walked for a short distance before they fell into the whirlpool again. It looked like they were spinning on the spot. Chapter 5093,000 Leaves Golden Bowl Lotus. Qiancheng looked at the Lan family members and sneered, I didn't expect you to have a swamp boat. However, your swamp boat is much worse than ours. Since we have spent so much effort, you probably won't be able to get out after being trapped in the whirlpool. What do you think? Why don't you consider my previous suggestion? Lan Dimeo was naturally very angry, and his heart became even more uncertain. The Qi family's swamp boat had spent so much effort to get out of the whirlpool. If their boat were to be trapped in the whirlpool, they probably wouldn't be able to get out for a while. At this time, Yun Chujio walked to his side and whispered, Uncle, Grandpa, do you see those water plants with beautiful yellow flowers? Lan Dimeo said unhappily, I'm not blind, so of course I saw them. What time is it now? Do you still have the time to admire the flowers? Yun Chujio was not angry and said with a smile, that kind of water plant is called the thousand leaves golden bowl lotus. When it blooms, its stem is very fragile and the larger the current, the more likely it will be broken. Since it is still growing, it means that there are no whirlpools nearby. We just need to use it as a reference and we can avoid the whirlpools formed by the undercurrents. Lan Dimeo's old face immediately turned red. He opened his mouth and said dryly, then, well, do as you say. Lan Dimeo asked someone to signal for the two ships behind him to follow behind the ship. Then he followed Yun Chujia's instructions and walked along the vicinity of the thousand leaves golden bowl lotus which was growing well, but they really did not encounter any whirlpools. Lan Dimeo looked at Qianqing and the others who were still circling behind him and felt that he was proud of himself. He said loudly, there's nothing we can do. Although our swamp ship is not as advanced as yours, our luck is good. Don't you think it's infuriating? Qianqing was almost angered to death. Why didn't the Lan family's ship fall into the whirlpool? At this moment, Mu Kelu finally reacted and said loudly, I know. Quick, we also move along the thousand-leaf golden bowl lotuses that are growing well. There's no whirlpool nearby. Qianqing hurriedly commanded the four ships to act according to his instructions. As expected, they did not fall into the whirlpool again. Only then did Mu Kelu explain the reason. His face was somewhat vexed. As a member of an alchemy aristocratic family, he actually did not think of this. It was really not right. However, how did the Lan family discover this? Could it be that hunchback? After crossing the whirlpool area, the Qi family's ships once again surpassed the Lan family's. After all, their ships were much more advanced than the Lan family's ships. They wanted to let the Lan family scout ahead, but who knew if the Earth Qi behind them would suddenly surge in. Therefore it was more important to escape as fast as possible. Lan Dimeo looked at the Qi family and the others who were quickly pulling away from them and could only stare blankly. After all, their boat's speed was limited. Yun Chujio came over and said with a smile, Great uncle, as the saying goes, haste makes waste. Our boat is slow but it also has its advantages. It's also good to let them scout ahead. Lan Dimeo sighed. Although what you said makes sense, we're just afraid that the Earth's Qi will spread over and we won't be able to escape in time. Yun Chujio curled the corners of her lips. Looking at the trend, it should be fine for the time being. Lan Dimeo saw that Yun Chujio's tone was somewhat certain and asked in surprise, Why do you say so? Yun Chujio pointed at the demonic beasts that were looking around. If the Earth Qi is about to spread over, these swamp demon beasts wouldn't have the leisure to wait for an opportunity to attack us. They would have already run away. Chapter 5094 How about acting cute? Lan Dimeo was stunned. That's right, demonic beasts had a much sharper sense of natural disasters than humans. Since these demonic beasts didn't flee in panic, it could be seen that the Earth Qi wouldn't spread to this place in a short period of time. Lan Dimeo sighed in his heart. Putting everything else aside, this troublemaker was indeed smart. No wonder the old ancestor looked at her in a different light. With this thought in mind, Lan Dimeo could not help but feel a lot more relaxed. When he thought of the Qi family's people rushing to the front to scout for them, he felt that it was too fucking satisfying. If it was not for the wrong occasion, he would have laughed out loud 3 times. Now he found Yun Chujio more pleasing to the eye, especially after he was so angry with Lan Luohan and Lan Luoshan that he almost vomited blood. He felt that this little girl who was found halfway was still very considerate. An hour later, a shrill scream came from the front. Lan Dimeo and the others were shocked. What happened? Could it be that the Qi family and the others were attacked by demonic beasts? When they got closer, they found that the Qi family's 4 ships were surrounded by several huge demonic beasts. Lan Dimeo's expression changed. Swamp Tyrant Crocodile, a level 77 demonic beast. It's equivalent to a human cultivator at the 9th level of the extreme spiritual realm. Although their spiritual power isn't particularly high, they have the geographical advantage and are very difficult to deal with. When Lan Luoyan and the others heard this, they immediately felt a cold breeze on their backs. The so-called spiritual power wasn't particularly high compared to what Lan Dimeo said. To them this was already very high. One had to know that Lan Luoyan was only at the 4th level of the extreme spiritual realm, while He Xinjiu was only at the 5th level of the extreme spiritual realm. Most importantly, this was a swamp. No matter how high your spiritual power was, there was no room for you to use it. The Qi family and the others were in a very passive position. Even though they had a lot of people, they could only attack from the boat. In addition, those swamp tyrant crocodiles were very strong, so not only were they unable to disperse them. However, a few guards who were standing by the boat were dragged into the water and lost their lives. Lan Dimeo's expression was very cold. If they were in the river or the sea, the Lan family would have a great advantage since most of them had water spiritual roots. The bad thing was that this was a swamp. Once they jumped into the water, they would easily sink into the mud and lose their lives. Moreover, he could predict that once the Chi family and the others escaped, the swamp tyrant crocodiles would turn around and attack the Lan family's ships. What should he do? Yun Chujio was also a little worried. If De Hua had not disappeared, she could have released De Hua. At least De Hua could enter the water to block them for a while, giving them time to escape. However, now that De Hua had disappeared, there was only a useless and destructive Gowei Batsao left. She had not forgotten that she had almost been killed by this idiot in Supreme City. It was better not to release it to harm her. The Guai Chao in her Dantian felt that she had been wronged to death. That was just an accident, okay? Moreover, who knew that this stupid girl would hide behind it? If she had to share the responsibility, she would have to take half of it, okay? HMPH, if she didn't want to let it go, she wouldn't let it go. Did she think that it would want to go out? However, when this guy thought about being able to jump around freely outside, he felt a little itchy. Why not act cute and let the stupid girl let it go? Yun Chujio didn't know what Guai Chao was thinking. She counted all her trump cards, and the power of the small flame in the water was greatly reduced. It was basically useless. Most of her stupid cuties were not good at fighting in the water. The little bastard knew how to swim, but he could not resist the fact that he was a cub, so he could not be of much use. For a moment she had no clue. Chapter 5095. Guai Chao invites the battle. The 10,000-year-old swamp forbade the use of talismans. Although she still had chili powder, she could only get it once. It was really difficult. While Yun Chujio was worrying, the Chi family members in front had already gotten rid of the swamp tyrant crocodiles. Although they were somewhat passive, they had a large number of people. In the end, they used their spiritual beasts to disperse the swamp tyrant crocodiles. The swamp tyrant crocodiles had already swallowed a few people. How could they give up when they had just tasted the sweetness? However, they were afraid that the Chi family had a large number of people, so they immediately swam towards the 3 boats of the Lan family. The expressions of the Lan family members were solemn. They all knew that a bloody battle was inevitable. Although they should be able to win in the end, they would definitely have to pay a certain price. Even if it was a spirit beast with a water element spiritual root, if its master did not enter the water, they would at most be able to fight on the surface of the water. In addition, these swamp overlord crocodiles had strong bodies, so they would not be able to do anything to them for a while. Seeing that the swamp overlord crocodiles were getting closer and closer, Yun Chujio gritted her teeth. In the end, she decided to release the Gowei Batsao to divert their attention. Of course, there was another reason. The Guai Chao kept acting cute in her Dantian. Even though it couldn't speak, Yun Chujio knew that it was asking for a fight. She decided to trust it again. If it messed up again, then HMPH would never come out again. Therefore, when the swamp overlord crocodiles were about to approach the 3 ships of the Lan family, Yun Chujio put her hands on her hips and shouted, "Stop!" This shout didn't do anything to those swamp tyrant crocodiles, but it gave Lan Dimeo and the others a big scare. Was this guy crazy? Those swamp tyrant crocodiles wouldn't listen to Hei Shinjio. Their huge protruding eyes were full of greed and disdain as they continued to approach the ship. "I've given you face, haven't I? How dare you come here? Today I'll let you see the one and only spiritual beast in the world," Yun Chujio said while giving Lan Dimeo a look. Lan Dimeo didn't quite understand what she meant. Fortunately, Lan Luofang reminded him in a low voice, "Grandfather, little Gio meant that we should find an opportunity to escape soon." Only then did Lan Dimeo understand. But would there be an opportunity to escape? It wasn't like he had never seen this spiritual beast that caused trouble. Wasn't it just a stalk of Gowei Batsao? At this moment, Yun Chujio had already released the Gowei Batsao. Those swamp tyrant crocodiles were stunned. What the hell was this? There was such a thing in a human spiritual beast? Wasn't this just an unremarkable piece of broken grass? Gowei Batsao knew that Yun Chujio wanted it to attract the attention of those swamp tyrant crocodiles, so it waved its leaves vigorously as if it was possessed. As expected, the swamp tyrant crocodiles were attracted by the Gowei Batsao, because they did not know what the Gowei Batsao was trying to do. Could it be that it was holding some big move? Seeing this, Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and suddenly had an idea. Yun Chujio whispered to Lan Dimeo, "Tell everyone that when they see my hand signal, they will release their spiritual beasts to block the attacks of the swamp tyrant crocodiles and then move forward at full speed." Lan Dimeo felt that this idea was more reliable. Although they couldn't do anything to the swamp tyrant crocodiles by releasing their spiritual beasts at the same time, they could still block them for a while. After all, there were many of them. Therefore, when the ship was about a few hundred feet away from the swamp tyrant crocodiles, Yun Chujio waved her hand. The Lan family members released their spiritual beasts and attacked the swamp tyrant crocodiles at the same time. Chapter 5096 stood at the peak of the grass life. Although those swamp tyrant crocodiles were not easy to deal with, they were surrounded by so many spiritual beasts at the same time. There was no chance for them to break out of the encirclement and chase after the 3 ships of the Lan family. Previously, these swamp tyrant crocodiles had suddenly emerged from the water. The Chi family and the others were also caught unprepared. Otherwise they would not have been so passive. The 3 boats of the Lan family moved forward at the fastest speed, afraid that the swamp tyrant crocodiles would catch up after they had gotten rid of the spiritual beasts. Yun Chujio said to Lan Dimeo, "Uncle Grandfather, you don't have to worry too much. If those swamp tyrant crocodiles catch up again, we will release the spiritual beasts in advance. They won't be able to catch up to us so easily." Lan Dimeo nodded and felt slightly at ease. It seemed that letting the Chi family and the others go ahead was the right thing to do. At the very least, they would have a buffer time when they encountered any situation. Guai Chao, who was waving its leaves, saw that Yun Chujio and the other ship had already gone far away. It could not help but curse in its heart, "This damn girl is too heartless. She actually left just like that. What should it do?" No, it was not easy to come out. It had to seize the opportunity. Thus, this fellow obviously still had a lot of spiritual power, but it pretended to have exhausted its spiritual power and dissipated. This fellow once again turned into a mini Goei Batsao and dived into the water. If anyone saw its appearance in the water, they would definitely be shocked. This was because this fellow used its leaves as a paddle. The speed of the entire grass in the water was so fast that only a faint purple light could be seen. In just a few seconds, Goei Batsao had caught up with Yun Chujio's boat. It used the leaves as its claws and climbed up the boat bit by bit. It originally wanted to go to Yun Chujio's side, but there were more than 100 people on the boat. There were too many people and too many eyes, so it was inevitable that it would be discovered. It thought about it and decided to hide in Yun Chujio's hair until it was dark. As for now, it would go to the mast to enjoy the scenery. Thus, she climbed to the top of the mast without anyone noticing. She looked at the endless 10,000-year-old swamp and felt a sense of pride in her heart. As the saying went, once the Goei Batsao appeared, who would be able to compete with it? Yun Chujio felt the emotions of the strange grass in her dantian and curled her lips. Didn't it just attract the attention of the swamp tyrant crocodile? Was there a need to be so cocky? Why did it feel like it was standing at the peak of grass life? When the Guai Chao in her dantian knew what Yun Chujio was thinking, it was so angry that its leaves were twitching. The stupid girl looked down on it. Sooner or later, it would make her cry and worship its dog tail. As time passed, the sky darkened, but everyone's hearts were raised. The 10,000-year-old swamp at night was 100 times scarier than during the day, and danger could come at any time. Even though the night was getting deeper, no one dared to sleep, afraid that once they closed their eyes, they would never have the chance to open them again. Of course, among these people, Hei Shinjio was not included. This fellow fell asleep on the deck as if this was not the 10,000-year-old swamp that was full of danger, but a normal river ditch. Lan Dimeo glared at Hei Shinjio, who was lying dead on the ground, but he did not say anything. After all, these escapes were all the idea of this troublemaker. If he was willing to sleep, then he would sleep. The Goei Batsao on the mast was about to sneak down and hide in Yun Chujio's hair, but he found that there was a shimmering light in the distance, and it was moving quickly in the direction of the 4 boats of the Chi family. Goei Batsao was puzzled. Was that a school of fish? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.